Hey, I'm Mr. Ghost. If you love true horror stories, consider subscribing. It really helps the channel grow. The stories you'll hear are shared by our audience from Reddit, and to keep their original essence, I read them exactly as they were written. Before we begin, let me know in the comments, where in the world are you listening from? Also, check the timestamps in the comments for story titles and easy navigation. Now, let's dive into the darkness. Count your windows twice every night. I didn't. It started with an innocent enough warning from the old man next door. He was a reclusive figure, always dressed in faded flannel and worn-out boots, with gray stubble that covered most of his face like a second layer of skin. Nobody in the neighborhood ever spoke to him much, but when he saw me locking my door one evening, he shuffled over with a strange urgency in his eyes. "You live alone now, don't ya?" His voice was raspy, like he hadn't spoken to another human in days. "Yeah," I replied, a bit uneasy but polite. "Why?" He leaned in close, his breath hot with the scent of whiskey. "You better count your windows twice every night before bed," he said, his eyes narrowing. "Make sure they're all closed, all locked. If you don't, well, let's just say it ain't good." I chuckled awkwardly, unsure if he was joking or just drunk. "Sure, I'll do that." The old man's expression didn't change. "I'm serious, kid. Count them. Twice, or they'll come in." I watched as he shuffled back to his house, a creeping unease settling in my gut. "They'll come in." What did that even mean? But I shook it off as the ramblings of a lonely old man with a little too much time and liquor on his hands. That night, as I wandered around my house before bed, I found myself thinking about his strange warning. I stood in front of the first window in my bedroom and closed it tightly, then the one in the kitchen. After a second of hesitation, I moved through the house, checking each window carefully, just as he had suggested. One in the bathroom, two in the living room, each of them shut and locked. When I reached the last one in the hallway, I counted again in my head. 5 windows, all sealed. It felt ridiculous, but I did it anyway. Twice. Just like he'd said. Nothing happened that night, of course. But over the next few days, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. I noticed subtle things. A draft, even though the windows were closed, strange sounds late at night, and most unsettling, a growing sense of being watched. The next week, I came home late from work, exhausted, and forgot about the old man's warning. I went straight to bed, my body too heavy with fatigue to bother checking the windows. I didn't even think about it until the middle of the night, when I woke to a soft tapping sound. Tap, tap, tap. At first I thought it was rain, but the night was dry. The tapping grew louder, more insistent. My heart began to race as I sat up in bed, listening. It was coming from the hallway window, the last one I'd always check. I hesitated, fear gripping me, but curiosity pulled me out of bed. As I approached the hallway, the tapping stopped abruptly, leaving behind an eerie silence. My pulse pounded in my ears. The window was closed, of course. It was. But as I reached for the lock, I saw it. A handprint on the glass. Not mine. Something else. Something that shouldn't be there. I stumbled back, my breath catching in my throat. The handprint was too large, too distorted. It pressed against the glass from the outside, as though something had been watching me. Frantic, I ran through the house, checking every window, counting them twice, just like the old man had warned. But the windows were all closed, all locked. Yet the feeling that something was wrong persisted, stronger than ever. The next night, I made sure to check the windows before bed, counting each one meticulously. 5 windows, twice. Then I slept. But the tapping came again. This time, louder, faster. It wasn't just one window either. It was all of them. A frantic, rhythmic tapping from every room, surrounding me. I leapt out of bed, my body trembling with fear. The windows, they were all shut, yet the tapping wouldn't stop. I backed into the center of the living room, cold sweat trickling down my spine, and that's when I saw it, the shadow moving just outside the glass. A figure, tall and lanky, with impossibly long limbs and a face that seemed to shift and warp under the dim moonlight. It pressed against the window, its grotesque face turning slowly toward me. Eyes, if you could call them that, met mine, hollow and hungry. The tapping stopped, but the window began to creak. I don't know how long I stood there, frozen in terror, but eventually the figure melted back into the darkness, leaving me shaken and breathless. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. The next morning, I rushed to the old man's house, desperate for answers, but when I knocked, there was no response. The neighbor told me he'd passed away 3 days ago, right around the time the tapping started. Now I count my windows twice every night. I don't forget anymore, because I know they're still out there, waiting, and if I slip up again, they'll come in. I really felt like moving out, but it was never that easy. You know when you watch horror movies and say how stupid the protagonists are? Well, sometimes that stupidity has its reasons. Move out. I couldn't, because I was broke, and I had nowhere else to go. Investigate. Investigate what? I wasn't in a mood to play detective. All I could do was ask around about the old man. The thing is, maybe I'm just not one of those people who can afford to watch out for themselves. I had one option left. My niece. Keep going in the same way. The tapping had stopped, but the fear hadn't. I spent my nights in a state of high alert. Every creak of the floorboards, every whistle of the wind sending shivers down my spine. I counted my windows twice, 3 times, sometimes more, obsessively checking the locks and double-checking the latches. Yet, the paranoia never left. It was as if the house itself had become hostile, its walls too thin to keep out what lurked just beyond the glass. The old man did have relatives, but none knew anything about this, and just claimed his mind had begun to slip up. I tried to contact the previous tenant, but she'd left without a trace. I desperately sent word out for her to help me, even sent a letter to where her address was supposed to be now. It was mid-afternoon when I heard the knock, a sharp, deliberate rapping at my front door. For a moment, I thought it was the tapping again, but this was different, more human. I approached cautiously, peering through the peephole. A woman stood on the porch, her face partially obscured by the hood of her jacket. She looked tired but determined. "Can I help you?" I called through the door, not willing to open it. "I think we need to talk," she said, "about your windows." My blood ran cold. "Who are you?" "My name's Claire. I lived here before you." She paused, as if weighing whether to continue. "I know what's happening to you." I had not expected her to reach out. Why would she? If I could leave, I'd selfishly never come back to help whoever would live here after me. I hesitated, then unlatched the door just enough to open it a crack. Clara's eyes were dark, sunken, and she looked like she hadn't slept in weeks. There was something haunted about her, a desperation that mirrored my own growing fear. "Thanks for coming," she sighed, her breath fogging in the cool October air. "The windows, the tapping, the thing that comes at night. You've seen it, haven't you?" I opened the door a bit wider, my heart thudding in my chest. Claire nodded grimly and stepped inside, glancing nervously around the house as though expecting something to lunge at her from the shadows. "I tried everything," she said, her voice low. Moving out didn't help. "They followed me. They always do." "They?" She looked at me, her eyes filled with the kind of fear you can fake. "There's more than one. I don't know what they are, or where they come from, but they're drawn to certain houses. This one, it got infested. The old man next door, he was the only one who knew how to keep them out. Yeah, he died." Her eyes widened, bloodshot and twitching. "No. Yes." She frowned, then shook her head. "His advice: count the windows twice every night. It's a warning, not a superstition." "Did you follow it?" "But I did that," I protested. "I counted them. Twice. Just like he said. They still came." Claire's expression darkened. "Did you ever stop to think that maybe the problem wasn't the windows themselves?" I blinked, confused. "What do you mean?" "They don't just want to get in. They want to replace." She paused, letting the weight of her words sink in. "You have 5 windows, right? What if, one night, there were 6? I froze, the implications of her question slicing through me like a blade. I'd never thought to question the number of windows, just that they were closed and locked. But the memory of that night, the feeling of something being off, came rushing back. The handprint on the glass, the figure outside the window. What if it hadn't been outside? What if it was already inside? A window I hadn't counted. Claire watched the realization dawn on my face. They don't always come from the outside. she said quietly. Sometimes they're already here. They mimic what's familiar, but there's always a flaw, a detail you missed. Maybe it's the number of windows. Maybe it's something else. You have to be vigilant. My mind raced, recalling every night I'd counted the windows, every creak and whisper in the house that I'd dismissed as normal. Could it be that I'd already let something in without even realizing it? There has to be a way to stop them, I said, my voice barely a whisper. There is, Claire said, but her tone was heavy with doubt. I've been trying to figure it out for years. They can't stand certain things. Mirrors, for one. They can't see themselves. That's how I spotted the one that got into my place. I saw it in a mirror, standing just behind me. It wasn't a reflection of me, but something else, wearing my face. My stomach churned, the idea of something wearing me like a mask making my skin crawl. And what did you do? I broke the mirror, she said simply. But that only stopped it for a while. They're patient. They wait. I felt a cold sweat form on the back of my neck. How do you know they're here? Claire turned to face me fully, her eyes locking onto mine with a gaze that sent a chill through me. Have you heard the tapping lately? I shook my head slowly. Not since last night. That's because they're already inside. Her voice was barely audible now, more a warning than an explanation. They don't tap once they're in. They're quiet, waiting for you to slip up. I felt my breath catch in my throat as I glanced around the room, my mind racing. I could feel it, the oppressive weight of their presence, the way the air felt too thick, too still. The house wasn't empty. It never had been. Claire stepped toward the door, her expression grim. I'm sorry, she whispered, but once they're inside, there's no going back. You can fight them. All you can do is keep counting, and hope you don't forget again. She left without another word, disappearing into the gray afternoon mist, and I stood there, alone in the silence, the growing dread coiling in my chest like a snake. That night, I counted the windows again. 5. I counted twice, then a third time just to be sure. But when I reached the window at the end of the hallway, I saw it. A 6th window, and something was staring back at me from the other side of the glass. The 6th window stared back at me like an eye, a dark, gleaming pane where there should be a blank wall. My throat tightened as I approached it, feeling the pull of its wrongness in my bones. This wasn't possible. There were only 5 windows in this house. Always had been. But here it was, as real as the others, yet impossibly out of place. And then there was the figure on the other side. It didn't move. It stood there, perfectly still, an outline against the faint moonlight. The features were indistinct, shrouded in shadow, but I could tell it was tall, far too tall to be human. Its shape contorted, limbs just a little too long, a little too thin. Its face, if you could call it that, seemed to stretch and blur as I looked at it, as though reality itself was bending around it. My heart pounded in my chest, a cold sweat trickling down my back. I couldn't look away. My breath came in shallow, panicked bursts. It wasn't tapping. It was waiting. The words of the old man echoed in my head, mixing with Claire's warning. They don't just want to get in. They want to replace. I took a step back, my body trembling, trying to convince myself that this was a dream, a hallucination brought on by too many sleepless nights. But the figure remained. Its head tilted slightly, as if it were observing me with an almost predatory patience. Then, it moved. Not in the way a person would, but with a slow gliding motion that seemed to defy gravity, like a puppet pulled on strings. It drifted closer to the glass, the outline of its body becoming clearer, and I could see now that it wasn't just a figure. It was a reflection, but not of me. No. This thing was showing me itself, wearing something familiar, as if it had studied me, learned how to mimic, but got the details wrong. I watched in horror as its face sharpened into something resembling mine. Eyes, nose, mouth, but all wrong. The features were too symmetrical, the eyes too dark, like black holes sucking in the light. Panic surged through me, and I stumbled backward, nearly tripping over the edge of the hallway rug. I couldn't tear my eyes away from the thing in the window. The way it stood, motionless now, mimicking me but not quite right, like an eerie, distorted mirror image. Suddenly, my phone buzzed in my pocket, jolting me back to reality. I fumbled it out, my hands shaking, barely able to swipe the screen to see the message. It was from Claire. Whatever you do, don't turn your back on it. I felt a cold wave of dread wash over me. My hand tightened around the phone as I slowly backed away from the window, careful to keep my eyes locked on the thing mimicking me. The hallway felt impossibly long as I edged toward the living room, my pulse racing in my ears. The figure didn't move again, but I could feel its presence intensifying, as though it were pushing against the boundary of the glass, waiting for the moment I would slip up. I made it to the living room, keeping the window in sight. My mind raced. What now? What could I do? I couldn't just stay here, staring at it forever. I glanced around frantically for something, anything that could help. Mirrors. Claire had mentioned mirrors. I darted to the bathroom, nearly knocking over a chair in my rush. I tore the small mirror off the wall and clutched it tightly in my hands as I returned to the hallway. My breath caught in my throat as I held the mirror up, angling it so I could see the reflection of the sixth window. At first, there was nothing, just the empty frame of the mirror staring back at me. I could still see the figure in the window with my own eyes, but in the reflection, it wasn't there. My stomach dropped. Claire had been right. Whatever this thing was, it couldn't show itself in the mirror, but that only made the reality more horrifying. It was real, and it was here. I slowly lowered the mirror and locked eyes with the figure again. It had moved closer to the glass, its distorted version of my face pressed up against the window, its mouth twisted into something that could have been a smile, but it was too wide, too full of sharp, jagged teeth. Teeth that didn't belong to me, teeth that weren't human. The window rattled. Not the usual gentle creak of an old house settling in the night, but a violent rattling sound, as though something was pushing, straining against the glass. I backed away further, clutching the mirror like a talisman. The rattling grew louder, more insistent. The thing pressed harder against the glass, its face splitting into an even wider grin. Its dark eyes locked onto mine, and for the first time, I could sense its intent. It wasn't just here to watch. It wanted in. The rattling grew into a deafening cacophony, and the glass began to crack. Fine. Spiderweb fissures snaked across the window pane, spreading with every second. I knew that if the glass broke, it would be too late. There would be no barrier left. "Stop," I shouted, though I didn't know who I was pleading with. The thing, the house, the universe. I held the mirror higher, aiming it directly at the cracking window. The rattling stopped. The figure twitched, its grin faltering. It recoiled slightly, as though the mirror had some power over it. For a moment, there was silence. I dared to hope that maybe, just maybe, I had found the answer. But then the thing smiled again, wider, more malicious. This time it wasn't just mimicking me, it was mocking me. And then I realized something. The windows. I'd only counted 5. I whirled around, heart thudding in my chest, and looked at the living room. My blood turned to ice. There, in the far corner of the room, was another window, a 7th one. And standing in front of it, pressed against the glass, was another version of me, smiling, waiting. I dropped the mirror, the sound of it shattering on the floor, drowned out by the sudden deafening sound of glass, breaking all around me, and forgot all the rules. I pulled the front door open, and then slammed it behind me, ran down the stairs in my slippers, and called a cab. Where to? I paused. I'd opened my mouth to say my brother's address, but then I remembered they could follow me there. Good question. Where to? You'll hate me for this, I thought. I told him my ex's address. This autopsy keeps getting weirder. I am a forensic pathologist. If you are not familiar with the term, simply put, my job is to perform autopsies and find out the cause of death of a body. It is not a profession for the weak, and I can certainly say it has given my life a grim hue, but I've learned to live with it. I'm fairly good at my job, and respected amongst my colleagues. The only way I can do my thing is if I dehumanize the body in front of me, and just view it as a specimen of some sort. I try not to think about the life it had, and just be done with it as fast as possible. I got to a point where I tune it out and never get grossed out or creeped out. I could have my lunch break next to a corpse and I would not give a fuck. An 18-year-old had been found dead in a well. Last June was when our small town started talking about this incident. We don't really pay attention to this kind of news. It's not helpful in any way, nor does it impact our everyday lives. This time the crime was everywhere, due to its gruesome nature. His teeth were found stuck on his back. I don't know why, but that creeped me out, and I don't get creeped out easily. Fast forward to Thanksgiving, and another grim day. This time, 2 bodies, an old widow and an engineer with a wife and kids. People were talking about the teeth, stuck to their backs. Stories began circulating of this new serial killer. They called them teeth, just that. There was no online coverage, because in this small town people don't believe in the media. Soon, the next killings followed. Men, women, children, all found in water wells, all with teeth stuck into their backs. Police had an ongoing investigation, and multiple suspects. One particular man, whose real name I won't disclose, so we'll just call him Keith Paulson, had caught their eye for his antisocial behavior and his constant lurking at the scenes of the crimes. Finally, one day, forensic research matches his prints to a set found at the newest tragedy. That was it. Keith Paulson was teeth. However, a day before his court meeting, he went missing. Everyone panicked. At night, I couldn't help but think, what if he got to my son, my wife? I began losing sleep. Nightlost nights followed, until the next day, when he was found dead. I breathed a sigh of relief. Finally, the torment was over. I could finally rest, knowing we were safe. I hated the whole situation, and I'd assumed the bastard had taken his days, afraid of what he would have gotten done to himself in jail. I got a call from the chief that very night, sitting at my desk, looking through my computer, and the phone rings. It's 3 a.m., so it did startle me. I knew, even before I answered, what it would be about. I didn't want to, I really didn't. My head was racing, silently pleading he wouldn't ask me what I suspected. Mr. Simmons. Yes? Ralph, is that you? Yeah. Listen, we have a situation. We might need your expertise. Don't you have your guys for that? All right, I responded, fixated on the window. What time tomorrow? We might need you tonight, actually. We do, but given your experience and dexterity, you'd be more suitable for the job. Just the faster we get it done, the better. My blood ran cold. What could be so urgent that they couldn't wait? Are you sure? Why is it so urgent? They need me for a job. What is it? My wife asked, from the hallway. Now, I don't think I can. I saw her eyes widen. No, that whole thing is really fucking creepy. Can't you just pass? Yeah, on that teeth guy. I don't want to go to sleep knowing you're out there opening a serial killer up. Plus, what if he isn't the killer? What then? You, out there, alone. Ernie, it's the middle of the night. I know. Don't go. I'm sorry. You'll get an assistant. As I got to the hospital, I could see the police cars lined up. I got out and met Ralph. So, what was so special about this that couldn't wait? Alone in the car, I couldn't help but wonder if he'd killed himself. I guess I was about to find out. I got dressed and drove off into the night. I never get creeped out, but this was different. I'm afraid no one is available now. I've spoken to the others, and no one wants to have anything to do with him. It's just, it really looked like a suicide, but it also looked like he had crawled into the well by himself. I assumed they wanted to get it done as fast as possible, because if Keith was just a victim, the real deal hadn't been caught, and with someone so active and thirsty for blood, you cannot waste another day. I frowned. I'll need an assistant. I knew I actually didn't, but for some reason, I didn't like to be alone with that guy at 3 a.m. With that said, they left me in the hospital's basement, accompanied by fluorescent lights and the smell of sanitizer. The top 2 floors of the hospital were active, but the night patrol, on this side of town, wasn't so numerous. Just a few nurses and some doctors sleeping on the watch, rarely any emergencies. Basically, I was alone. I usually work in the middle of the day, and I really wanted to just go back home, to my bed and my family. The sooner this is over, the better, so I'd better get to work, I thought. This is how an autopsy works. First, the pathologist reviews the deceased's medical history, circumstances surrounding the death, and any relevant details provided by law enforcement or medical personnel. As I read through the report, my mind kept flashing back to me the same words. It looked like he had crawled into the well by himself. Then, The external examination follows. The body is visually inspected for external signs of injury, trauma, or abnormality. Bars, bruises, lacerations, rashes, skin color, lividity, and rigor mortis are noted. Keith had been found in a well. That was essential, and I had expected him to look worse, way worse. What I found and how he looked was horrifying. Water exposure often causes bloating as gases accumulate inside the body during decomposition. The skin may turn a pale or greenish hue, especially in cooler water, due to bacterial activity. Keith did not look like that at all. In fact, it looked like he'd just fallen asleep. No bloating. The skin wasn't wrinkled or softened. He looked fine. Let me explain. I won't bore you with technical details and just strip it to the essential. For obvious reasons, I wanted to see if his teeth were stuck to his back, and they weren't. I breathed a sigh of relief. That most likely meant he was the killer. I was beginning to sweat, and couldn't understand why. I mean, the window had been open this whole time. It was a small window, really high, close to the ceiling, which corresponded to ground level. Next, photographs are taken, and detailed notes are made regarding the condition of the body, clothing, and any external objects found with the body. I snapped some pictures and kept going. I could have sworn I felt a breeze on my neck. Moving on to the internal examination. Nothing was out of place. Absolutely nothing. No signs of drowning, poisoning, heart attack, anything. I felt as if I was examining someone still alive. In all my years of practice, I have never, and I mean never, not been able to find a cause of death. I turned to check and found out the window was closed. I heard a sound in the hallway, distant but piercing in the deafening silence. I felt a knot in my chest. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath, and again, and again. It was tedious, and the more I examined, the more I realized how utterly wrong it was. His body was perfect, and apart from his broken fingernails and bleeding fingertips, which I assumed were what the chief saw that made him think he'd crawled into the well, nothing was out of place. Then, I stretched for a bit and got back to work. The first one felt like a punch in the gut. My body stayed still, but a wave of sheer terror washed over me, and my head became overwhelmingly light. I looked back at Keith, but could not bear to look back at the camera. My hands were shaking like crazy, and I could barely see 2 feet in front of me. My eyes widened, and scarcely breathing, I took the clipboard with me, my phone, camera and car keys, and got the fuck out of that basement. By the time I had finished the reconstitution, sunlight had begun to creep, though the tiny window. I started filling out the report, but stopped halfway to check the pictures I'd taken, just to get the details right. I didn't even lock the room, and left him on that table. I prayed no one would go inside, for their own good. Anything out of order? I locked the car, and there, I started filling out the autopsy report. My pen loomed over the cause of death column. Suicide, I wrote down, pressing hard into the paper. After that, I called the chief. I was so dizzy, for the shock hadn't fully left my body. I never said I lied. A break followed. Then Ralph spoke softly. "Simmons, I trust you. Did you feel it was necessary for you to write that down?" I wrote down suicide. "So that's how he died." "For now, yes." "What do you mean, for now?" My glassy eyes were fixated on the center of the steering wheel. "Just start the car. Take your wife and your kid and move out of this state. You don't have to tell him. You can just leave it like that." "Yeah. You said he looked like he'd crawled into the well," I said. "I think he was trying to crawl out." A pause followed, and I heard Ralph take a sharp breath. "Don't play with me. I'm not. I'm really not. I'm going home. Don't ever call me for this shit again." I hung up and drove home in silence. No radio, no talking to myself, nothing. I tried to close my eyes, but I could still see it. Took a shower, then got into bed as my wife was leaving for work. I knew the chief would call me again when he saw the picture I'd printed out for him. The same picture that made me want to quit my job and abandon my lifelong career. I'd taken more pictures of him, but only made it to the first one. I didn't know if the others were similar. Couldn't bear to look at them. Next to him, a body. I'll call it a body, because calling it a person would be an insult to our kind. Bloated, pale and blue with soft fingers and prominent veins. That wasn't the worst part. It appeared to be hunched over Keith, biting into his shoulder and staring straight into the camera. It showed Keith laying on the hospital bed and the shiny equipment next to him, the room, bluish from the fluorescent lights, and to the left, the door to the hallway with a small window. Trying to describe around the horror was almost impossible. The phone rang shortly after. Ralph, what fucking joke is this? I told you not to call me. What picture? This is about Keith. What did you do to his body? It's missing. I let out a nervous laugh. What? You saw the picture? I accidentally made a hole through my wall. I looked through it and saw myself looking back. At least that's what I think it was. You know the moment when you're at the top of a roller coaster. You know the feeling of the first 3-4 seconds of the drop. As much as you adrenaline junkies say it's amazing, don't lie, might it's absolutely awful, terrifying. That's how I felt 2 hours ago. Clink. I live in one of these duplex type of homes. A house split in two. One side, mine. The other, the neighbors, or right now, no one's. No one lives next to me. It's for sale. Don't imagine it's something fancy. Might rented it out to have more room for my paintings. It has a simple layout. Downstairs, my living room and kitchen, with a tiny service bathroom. Upstairs, 2 bedrooms, one mine. The other turned into a painting room, because I can't sleep in the smell of oil paint. I was hanging up some paintings in the upstairs hallway, the one that shares a wall with the other home. As I raised my hand with a nail and my hammer, I tripped, which was odd by itself, because I never trip on thin air, and since my hand was already swinging, I quickly pulled my other hand, with the nail, away, afraid to hit my finger. My hammer went straight into the wall, mine's cardboard walls, typical to cheap American homes. I stood there in silence, staring like an idiot at the hole I just made. I hadn't expected the wall to be so thin, so that I could see the darkness from the other home. It was extremely odd and off-putting. I hated living next to no one. That home had been for sale for ages. In the silence, I suddenly heard movement on the other side. Confusion, then fear, then disgust swept over me. Please, no rats. It's all I ask. Hesitant. I peeked through the hole, trying to see the culprit. The other room definitely needed to have windows so the darkness would not be too bad, I thought. Still, my mind was fuzzy. How on earth did I manage to break into the other home? How? I knew the term paper-thin walls, but I'd assumed that was just an exaggeration. In that moment, I know I wasn't the wisest or misest. It wasn't exactly the best decision to put my eye right into the opening of a stale, dusty room. Even if there were rats, that made it even more unsanitary. Those were the thoughts playing in my head, which were cut short all of a sudden. I pulled away, eyes wide, mouth open, scarcely breathing. There it was, the drop of the roller coaster. Well enough, I'd seen another eye looking back. The house was silent, but not a welcoming silence, or a comforting one, the one I'd gotten to know since living alone. No, this silence was like a being on its own. I felt it moving through my walls, and I feared it wasn't the only one. Clink. How do I know it was me who was looking back? Well, I have a scar on my left eyelid. Walked into a wire when I was a kid. Lucky it didn't blind me. 2 hours ago, I'd seen that same scar through the wall. My mind raced for answers. It's a mirror. It's a fucking mirror. That's what it had to be. The other room had a double-sided mirror on the wall. I put my finger through the hole, expecting to feel the glass. I felt skin. I think I've never screamed so loud before in my life. No. First, I think I gagged. I'm trying to remember the right order of things, but I can't. My throat is still sore from that scream. I could not think of a reasonable thing to do, because that wasn't a reasonable situation. What if it was a dead body? No, I'd heard it moving. I've been pacing through my living room since. I've stopped to type this, hoping someone might know how to help. Clink. From time to time I hear this sound, a clink, coming from the hole. The first time I heard it was an hour ago. It was almost imperceptible. Now, it's the same sound, but I feel like it's become deafening. I turn to look, and I see that whoever is on the other side is dropping pins on my floor, through that hole. Clink, a pin falls, followed by another. I don't know what's scarier, might affect that someone is on the other side. Might affect the fact that it knows I saw it. It's a really thin wall, and I'm afraid something can break through it from any side. Tonight, I'm sleeping at my friend's. Tomorrow, I don't know what I'll do. Wish me luck. As I'm zipping my bag up to leave, I hear another clink. I turn, and from the door, I can see an eye peeking through the hole in the wall. I get into my car. I'll hit post now, then fire up the engine, and get out of here. I have one more thing to say. Just the upstairs room, the one stuck to my home, the one where the hole is supposed to lead, has no windows. I don't know what's in there, and how long it's been lurking. I don't even want to think about the fact that for the last year, I've been living next to that thing. The Hitchhiker, I picked up one leave. I always do these late night drives from work. Usually, I take a longer route. It's more relaxing after spending 10 hours of my day with my eyes glued to a screen. The route I take is not the same. I like to spice it up. I was driving through this dark forest which surrounds my town in the south, and had my windows down a bit. The road here is broad enough, so that the trees don't suffocate you, and it is pretty trafficked. I was constantly passing cars. Weirdly enough, they were flashing their headlights at me, so I figured some police car was hunting around. I didn't have my license, so I slowed down and looked for another route on my phone. A more isolated street, through the woods. My GPS found it. Current route, 13 minutes until destination. Recalculating. Current route, 32 minutes until destination. Well, I can take being a few minutes late home. So I turned my car and went on this path through the woods, darker than the main road, with no other cars in sight. I don't get creeped out that easily, but it was kind of spooky. I liked the adrenaline though. I came across this crossroad. A lonely cabin sat behind it, and no one else around. I slowed down a bit, because I thought I saw a deer or something. Getting closer, I made out this skinny guy. He was in a t-shirt and some dark pants, and looked really tired. Really tired. When he noticed my car, he lifted up his hand and made the hitchhike sign. He got close to my window. He was shivering. "Hey, what are you doing up here?" I got lost. "I'm so sorry." "You alone?" "Yeah, sir." "You got a gun?" "No, sir." "Can I come in?" "Get in." "Thank you." "Not in the back seat. I don't want you cutting my neck and shit." So he got in the passenger seat. He smelled weird. Not like rot or anything, but he had this smell of old, unwashed clothes or rooms where you never open any windows. He was slender and pale, and had a strange calmness, as if he was sleepwalking or something. Drugs, I thought. Well, at least the type of drugs wasn't the one that got the young ones so aggressive. I didn't mind him sleeping in my car. Truth is, I saw myself in that guy. That's why I picked him up. I used to be a loser when I was a teen, and got into some really unsafe groups during high school. Lord knows I may have ended once or twice hitchhiking on a dark road, and I would have killed to have someone nice feel sorry for me and pick me up. So, where you headed? To town. Anywhere. Yes. We drove in silence. I was a bit intrigued by him, but not scared. Never scared. My GPS said I had 15 minutes left to home when I decided to drop him off. I stopped the car and told him to get out. "But you haven't arrived yet. I'm not gonna bring you home. Don't want you knowing where I live." He looked at my GPS, where my address was written. "Shit. It's fine. I'll get off. Thank you for letting me in, sir." "You're welcome. Bye." He got off, and I watched him get smaller and smaller in my rear-view mirror. I got in the driveway and locked the car. I thought I saw something move in the back seat, but I was so tired I didn't care. For the next days, my car had that smell. That weird-ass smell. My wife complained about it non-stop. "Tom, you gotta clean that car. It fucking stinks. I don't know who you had in there." Anyway, last night I got into my car for my usual late-night drive. As I was turning on the engine, a chill ran down my spine. My body was alert all of a sudden, but my mind was confused, as I didn't see anything odd. Why the sense of danger? What was about to happen? I decided to start driving anyway. My favorite route, through the forest. I liked driving through creepy scenery, a simple spectator from the safety of my car. My eyes widened as I hit the brakes, to stop the car from hitting a deer. Right in that moment, as the vehicle stopped, I heard a thud in the back. My head suddenly felt very light. I'm not a courageous man, I don't do well in these situations. The prospect of having someone in my car was so horrifying to me. It almost made me puke. I stared straight ahead, unable to move. From behind me, movement. I sensed it. The stupidest words came out of my mouth. Who's there? Silence. I had the light on inside, and I saw my reflection on the windshield. Behind me something rose. Something human-shaped, but not quite. What do you want? That was the last thing I remember before I blacked out. When I woke up, I was still in my car, and the sun was almost up. I wiped my forehead with my hand, then rubbed my eyes. Had I been crying? My hands were slippery. I looked in my rearview mirror and saw my own face, stained by blood, then looked at my hands, and realization hit me like a truck. I looked into my back seat. There he was, the hitchhiker. What did you do to me? I did nothing. You offered to help. You invited me. As he said that, he got out of the car and walked into the forest, leaving me wondering how my own blood got onto my hands. At first I doubted it was mine, but then I saw the cut on my forearm. I felt weak, as if I'd been bleeding for a while, but there was no blood pool under my seat. I'm not a superstitious guy, but I think that was a vampire. They're getting smart. I see. Apparently you don't need to invite them into your house anymore. It's enough if you pick them up. Filthy creatures. They're now hitchhikers. I drove home in silence and had to explain to my wife where I'd been. Tonight, I'm not driving around anymore. The problem is, something is moving outside and I can make out a shape against my window on the first floor. I can't exactly admit what I'm feeling, but the tensed up shoulders, dry mouth and sweating give it away. It's fear. I just hope he stays the fuck there. He better. I'm blind. I'm not sure how many steps my staircase has. I've always been blind, and that's fine by me. I'm glad I never got to see, and then lose my sight. That would have been too depressing. Instead, I don't get to mourn something I've never had. I've lived in this Upper East Side flat for a really long time. As a writer, it's important for me to have my own space. I've been told my writing style is exquisite because I cannot see. I focus on the other senses, and my writing shines by stimulating them. I don't say a red apple might or red has no meaning for me. I say warm, firm and sour, a bit sweet, fits in your hand, smells of grass and childhood. I'm not gonna lie, this flat was nice for a while, but really tiny, and I want to learn to play the piano. So, naturally, since I've saved up a lot of money from my works, I bought this beautiful mansion in the suburbs. At least, that's how my friends and family called it. I don't care, Nias. I can't see anyway. I just needed to feel the warm sunlight in the kitchen and the crisp air from my balcony while I drink my coffee in the morning and listen to the birds, and I work day and night. People thought it would be a problem if my house had an upper floor, because according to them, even if I've lived my whole life blind, I cook, chop up things, take baths, and clean the house, I apparently can climb some damn stairs. No problem for me. I counted the steps of my staircase, 14. Eventually, I got used to it, and I even stared going up and down the stairs faster, since I knew exactly how many steps I needed to climb. That's the thing when you're blind mind, some movements become reflexes. Since you live alone, you learn how to position certain things, and you always find them in the same place. One day, however, I was going down the stairs, and I tripped where I expected the floor to be. There was this additional step, and I didn't think much of it. Figured I must have not paid attention. I mean, yes, it was odd, because after 30 years of being blind, tripping wasn't really a common thing, but I didn't look much into it. However, when I went up again, I tripped at the top. That was definitely unusual, sure as it was. One extra step. The fuck? I went back the stairs and counted. 15. Counted again. 14. Sure enough, 14 steps. Whatever. I went to sleep. Then, one night, as I went downstairs to get a glass of water, I tripped again. This time I really fell down on my foot. That was not a skipped step. There were at least 2 additional steps. A few days passed, and I didn't trip anymore. I played it off as some error my tired mind made. I felt around and stood up. My foot hurt a lot, but the ankle was good. I couldn't really stand up on it, but no serious damage. I went up, carefully, counting. 16. What the fuck? Sure, you mess up. You count one more or one less. But two more. The house was so still, so silent. No birds, no bees, no cars passing. Normal people fear the darkness. I fear the silence. I went down the stairs again, counting. By the time I reached the bottom, I counted 14 again. I went up again. 18. That was absolutely ridiculous. Was someone messing with me? How could they even mess with me like that? I've never heard of a burglar to break into someone's house and add steps to their stairs. I can make my way around pretty neat.
I went through the kitchen, then into the hallway.
Still, I went to check to see if I locked the door. And then, I bumped into something. 18. For fuck's sake. I froze. My organs tensed up. My hairs stood up. All ears. I had never felt so much fear in my life. Decided to go on and check the door. Yeah, locked. I made my way back upstairs, and this time I didn't bump into anything. Or anyone. Back upstairs, I decided to go down and make one final count. All night, all I did was go up and down, like a lunatic. Each time I got different results. 14. Okay, it is probably going to be more. 19. Nope, still going. 17. 27. 21. That's a record. 33. 52. That could not be possible. 88. I could absolutely feel this sense of impending doom. Something was there with me. And it was vile, disgusting, and unnatural. And this staircase was never ending. 102. I finally gave up. Whatever this was, I didn't want to reach the bottom. I went back up. The moment I turned my back to go up, I tried to be brave, but something got over me, and I ran on all fours, desperate to reach the top, desperate to run back to my bedroom. This house is strange. It is eerie and disturbing, and I think if I'd gotten to the bottom of the staircase, I would have left this world. I don't think that was my house anymore. I don't remember how I got inside and locked my door, but I did, and now I'm sitting here and typing. However, no matter what stupid, cryptic, eerie, unnatural staircase I unveiled, it is important not only that I don't go down there, but that nothing comes up, either. Let's speak to dictate. I'd hear the creaking. I'd stop. The creaking would stop too. It was almost as if it was mocking me. The creaking was not consistent and almost imperceptible, though a normal person couldn't probably hear it. But my remaining four senses were overly sharpened. I guess what scared me most was the silence in between. And right now, I can hear it creaking. As I finished writing, I reached for my phone. I figured I'd call my sister. I was starting to feel the warmth of the morning light on my shoulders through the windows, and hear some birds. Judging on how stiff I felt, I must been up all night. The creaking had stopped. It made its way up to my door. Was it standing on the other side? I didn't want to think of the thing I'd bumped into. Felt like bumping into a coat rack or something, but I didn't stop to feel around. I have a consistent urge to flee any dangerous situation I'm in, because I know I can't fight it. Even if I were fast, even if I were strong, I can't fight something I don't fully understand. They could be standing right in front of me, and if they were still enough, I wouldn't know. Hey Siri, call Daphne. The phone was ringing. Hi there, you good? It's kinda early. My voice sounded so hoarse. Usually I talk to myself a lot. I sing whatever. I play music. This time I'd been so quiet, so afraid to make a sound, so afraid to breathe. Like 6 a.m. Damn. I'm sorry. What time is it? I stopped. Slowly I crept up to the door and placed my ear on the oak wood to listen. I could feel someone's presence outside, waiting. Everything okay? What? Are you sure? I think someone broke into my house, and they're being very discreet about it. I've started noticing things, unusual stuff. I trip when I shouldn't, and last night I bumped into something, like a coat rack. Yes, and the staircase kept creaking. Right now, I've locked myself into the bedroom, but I think it's waiting on the other side of the door. Thanks. Do you have a key? Silence. Fuck. That's so creepy. I have to be at the office at 9, but I'll phone in if I'm late. I'll come check it out. Darth. Do you have a key? No. Why? Didn't I give you one? For fuck's sake. You did, but I didn't take it. I felt weird having a key to your house. Whatever. Just come. I'll fucking go downstairs again and let you in. Yeah, whatever. I hung up and sat on the floor, back against the door, waiting, listening. Nothing was going on. Did I scare it off? Okay. Stay safe. Okay. Fuck. Finally, I stood up and unlocked the door. She texted me she had 10 more minutes until she got to my place. I stood there in silence for a while. My options were very limited. Normal people could literally look around and make out if they were alone or not. I couldn't. All I could do was listen. And if whatever was there was being really still, really silent, my worst option was to feel around. That terrified me. Because everything was silent, so I stuck my hands out. My heart raced with every step. I wanted to keep going, but at the same time, I wanted so badly to stop and turn around. Made my way to the stairs. I've talked to others, and something similar for them was sticking their hand out in complete darkness. The thought of touching that thing made my skin crawl. That direct contact was so unbearable and so much more dangerous that I had no choice. I gagged and wiped my foot on the carpet. I was gonna ask Daphne what that was. You. "14 steps, back to normal. I was barefoot, and the hardwood floors felt so cold, so unusual against my skin. I thought that bothered me, until I stepped into something sticky. Made it to the door without any other occurrences. I unlocked it, and was greeted by the familiar voice of my sister. Hi. Oh God. I'm so sorry you have to go through this. I'm ready to call 911 dialed up and everything. I'll take a look. I wanted Ryan to come too, but you know how it is with him and work." I felt her warm hands around mine, and her sweet perfume. "Thank you. It's such a comfort to have you here." "Yeah, no problem. Please take a look. Tell me if you notice anything unusual. And I stepped into something sticky in the living room. Please tell me what it was." "Okay, I will. Let's see." Silence. I heard her pace the room carefully, without saying a word. "So? What is it? Anything weird?" It's nothing alarming. It's just odd." Silence. Why wasn't she speaking? What did I step on? First of all, that is jam. Jam. Are you sure? Yeah, jam. Yep. There's a jar on your counter. Opened. Maybe you forgot about it. No, I did not fucking eat jam. Eamskov. What? How? Well, it's nothing, but things are a bit out of order. You're usually pretty neat. Right now, it's a bit of a mess, but weird. You've got a pan on the floor, and this painting propped up on your dinner table, taken from the wall, a pile of clothes spread around, almost in a pattern. What the fuck? Go upstairs and check too. I could tell she didn't want to, based on her hesitation. Eventually, I heard her climb the stairs and walk around a bit. So, anything. Please speak. Well, the usual. Bed made. Things in order. There's nothing weird upstairs. And no one. Anywhere. It's pretty neat. That bothered me for some reason. How neat. My bed is made. I didn't make it. I was literally sleeping in it. Then I woke up to get a glass of water. Then the weird shit happened, and I locked myself in the bedroom. Didn't stop to make my fucking bed. Yeah. I mean, it's not perfectly made, said like a child. Tried to. No one. You said no one was there. Why not? Someone was definitely fucking around in my house. Call the police. I heard her getting downstairs. Look, I can't. And tell them what? That someone made your bed? Placed your pan on the floor? No signs of forced entry. You didn't get hurt. I bumped into something. In the middle of the night, in the dark. How unusual. Look, there's not much I can do. I've checked everything. You're pretty safe. You have no attic, no basement, no back door, windows locked, door locked. You're good. I'll help you clean up, and I'll get going. If there's anything weird, call me. Okay, well, someone was definitely there. Okay. I had to ask her, even though she was going to think I'm crazy. How many steps does my staircase have? What? Okay, count them for me. 14, as usual. I definitely felt I had flipped a switch with that question, because after that question, the way she talked to me changed. She was overly patient, overly calm, kept telling me to put on some music, distress, take a bath, listen to one of my audiobooks and don't panic. I felt an ounce of heartbreak to think my sister didn't believe me, but I moved on. After that, a few days passed when I kept staying alert, but nothing happened. No weird stuff. Everything had gone back to normal. Christmas came and I hosted, had friends and family over, and forgot about how lonely and desolate I'd felt in that house. Maybe I just had an episode of, wandering. Maybe my mind had just been somewhere else. When you live with a disability, sometimes it's hard to stay on track. Months passed, and nothing happened.
I was happy my new book had been published, and I hadn't felt scared or watched in ages.
Things were good. So what if my mental health had taken a hit? I was aware of it, and decided to see a therapist. One night, I was on the couch, drinking some wine, and watching The Bachelor. Well, not exactly watching, but listening. You know what I mean. It's still entertaining. How could it be? I'd had the AC on for the whole evening. Why was it so cold? The AC was on and blasting waves of warmth around the house, and I was starting to feel sleepy. I reached out my leg out of the blanket and touched the floor. The cold floor reached my hand out and felt the couch much cold too. This coldness was everywhere, so I pressed the big button. The AC beeped. The beep was wrong. It should have been lower. It's higher when it turns on. I reached for the remote and turned the AC up. It wasn't working. Stupid fucking air conditioner. I'm gonna turn it off and on. Modern problems require modern solutions. I told you I talked to myself a lot. Was it off this whole time? Couldn't be. I had literally felt its warm breeze on the back of my neck. I turned the TV off. I needed absolute silence to focus. I stood there for what felt like hours, listening. I stood there in silence, trying to process. It was as if I was just stalling, delaying the moment of realization, because I didn't want to. I didn't want to admit someone or something had been breathing on my neck. It was probably still there, but the breeze had stopped. The floors didn't creak, but I could almost make out the carpet being pressed. Steps normal people wouldn't have noticed, but I did. The steps were irregular. The pattern was weird. The pacing uncoordinated. I heard when it left the carpet. Then a thump indicated it was right next to me. The couch shifted. I was over it. People hallucinate. I stuck my hand to the side, ready to feel whatever the fuck was there. I didn't get the chance. Suddenly, the couch shifted back up and I heard a whoosh. The thing had seen me try to reach it and moved. It didn't want me to touch it. Then, I heard a click. My TV turned back on. Whatever it was telling me to ignore it. Why? I was not going to sit around and watch TV with that next to me. I was going upstairs. After I counted the 14 steps, for some reason, I knew the 15th would be there. Went back down. 17. Went back up. 19. Back down. I was 20 extra steps in and counting when I realized it was not going to end. Stairs were tweaking again. Turned around. Went back up. Into the bedroom. Door locked. The TV was still running downstairs. After a while, I heard it turn off. Others would have been terrified. I was relieved. That meant the thing was downstairs and not here. With me, I've decided to install some cameras around, to be safe. If anything peculiar happened, I wanted to have a friend check them out, or at least, tell me I was being crazy. After that, I kept minding my own business. I was terrified, and I know what you guys would say. Why would you still stay there? Why were you so calm? Well, there was this odd feeling I had. Something was definitely off, but somehow I was able to go through that and be okay. almost as if you're walking on a tightrope and you know that it is dangerous, but you don't want to hesitate or stop, or even slow down, because you somehow feel that the less you think about it and go on, the safer you are from falling. Although, in my case, I didn't exactly know what my fate would be. It was Thursday. I had just come home from my job. I also teach creative writing at a university. It is important that I write down my routine that day. I unlocked the door, got inside, locked it back, took my coat off and hung it up, took my shoes off, put my keys on a table, went upstairs, changed, washed my hands, came back down to cook dinner, chopped, stirred, turned the oven on, set the table, worked my way around the stove, sat down and ate my dinner, washed the dishes, so on, then went upstairs, bathroom, sent some texts, went back downstairs and turned on the TV. After a while, I began dozing off. I could not keep up with whatever fight was going on the show, and my mind began lazily sweeping away until a dream made its way in, mixed with reality. I fell asleep. I awoke and was greeted by silence. No eerie sounds, no movement. Silence. Weird. Hadn't I left the TV on? Oh, okay. I reached my hand out for the remote, which wasn't in the usual spot. The whole room was silent, so the thing was either very still or it had left. I needed to call my friend and ask them to come over so that I could have them check the cameras. The house remained silent for a while until I heard his car in the driveway. Good. I let him in and asked him if he'd noticed anything unusual around. Not really. Opened up my laptop and had him access the footage. Okay, let's see. So we're looking into today, right? Yeah. You'll just download the last 12 hours. That should be enough. Or the last 6. Just do 12. Fine. I heard the keyboard clacking for a bit. Then we waited until he said, "There it is." HM. Fast forward. Nothing unusual. House empty. Here you are. Coming home from work. You're taking your coat off. Shoes. Keys. Went upstairs. Nothing there. Fast forward. Here you are again. Back down. Opened the fridge. He fell silent for a while. At first, I figured he wasn't seeing anything, so he got tired of narrating what I was doing. I even thought the thing might not even show on camera. I didn't need another person to think I was crazy, but then the silence had gone on for too long. So, what do you see? Are you fucking with me, or what? What? I heard him sigh. Look, I'm really not in the mood, so please tell me if you're fucking with me. What did you see? Let's just go to my car. I'll take your laptop with us and phone and keys, and I'll download some more footage, and you're spending the night with me. Why? My stomach dropped. He'll tell you. I will. Let's just go. His voice was shaking a bit, and I knew he was trying to be calm, but his movements were too rushed, too unhinged. He was freaking out. I put my coat on, took my wallet and keys, and we left. We got inside the car, but he immediately turned the engine on and hit the gas, without saying a word. What did you see? Just tell me. Stop freaking me out. We're really sorry for you and what you had to go through. That is some paranormal activity shit. What did you see? Okay. He cleared his voice. So, you'd opened the fridge, took out some stuff, then started preparing dinner. I saw some movement upstairs, like in the corner of the screen. Then, I don't know how to explain. It was a thing. It was so fucking creepy. Looked like you a bit, but not really, 'cause it had longer arms and legs, and a very bony face, wearing some clothes. I assume yours. So was it human? No, I don't think so. Its arms bent so weirdly, and it was taller than you, and it walked... Fuck, what the fuck? It walked so strange and acted so strange, and it had this hair thin and falling off, and the face... Yeah, its eyes were really big. That was without a doubt the scariest shit I've ever seen, and fixated on you the whole time. What was it doing? This is gonna sound crazy, but I think it was mimicking you. It literally watched you non-stop, and the shit that freaks me out the most is that it was in front of you the whole time, while you cut the vegetables, while you ate, while you were watching TV, studying you, poorly mimicking what you were doing, then you fell asleep. Yeah, it watched you the whole time, took its bony finger and, at some point, pressed the off button on the remote. Its face literally sat, like 2 inches from yours for a while. It just stared, until you woke up, then walked. I don't know if I can call it walked, upstairs. After he finished talking, we sat in silence for a while. I didn't know what to say. He parked his car and we went up to his apartment, then sat down to download the rest of the footage. For fuck's sake, Will, I swear to God, it's been watching you non-stop. Like, I've downloaded the footage since the cameras were set up, so that's 2 months ago, and it's here all the time. Sometimes it climbs up to the corner of your wall on the ceiling and watches. Other times it shadows you. I felt sick. All this time when I thought I was alone. And that isn't even the weirdest thing. 2 months ago, it didn't have hair. I think the hair is not its own. What? I think it got it from somewhere. I think it's picking at your hair while you sleep. It's trying to become human, to become you. I was about to throw up. Even in the movements, when you're not there, it takes your things, tries them out. It looks fucking terrifying. It is literally learning, studying you. I knew for some reason, and I didn't even need proof. I just knew it had come from the stairs, climbed up from whatever portal had been there, and I knew it was trying to lure me down there so it could take my place, so it could become me. I explained everything to my friend. There was nothing I could do except get the fuck out. I didn't know how to close the portal, and I needed my friend's help if I wanted to try. I was trying to evaluate my risks, my options, when my friend said something that made my blood run cold. Look, if you don't go through that portal stuff, it will probably just kill you and take your place. I think the next time you return home, it will have figured that out. My sister knew now that I wasn't crazy anymore. Everyone had seen the footage. It's become some sort of news around my family, friends. They were all dying to watch it. Some morbid curiosity making them want to see what traumatized me for the past months. I was grateful they saw it too. But at the same time I had to move out and sell the house. And that was a bummer. I was struggling financially, and I knew I couldn't just buy another house. I had to sell this one first, and that obviously meant I had to go back there and get my things. I was not planning to go alone though. It took a while to try to convince my friend to come with me. He was really scared, but I had to get my stuff out, and that meant spending a few more nights there. So, last month, me and my friend went back to the house. As soon as we entered, he let out a sigh. I asked what was wrong, and he just replied with has been making some changes around here. What changes? Well, it took food out of your fridge. Your clothes are torn. I think it even slept in your bed. It's not gonna like you being back. I'm gonna assure that thing that I'm not staying. I'll leave soon enough, and it'll be free to torment whoever comes here next. Right. So, we started packing and cleaning. It was a bit harder for me, and we called for backup, my other friend Jessica. She refused to come without her boyfriend. Now, the 4 of us versus that thing meant it would be too scared to do anything. I didn't know much about it, but from its behavior I learned it mainly focused on me, and when its transformation would be complete, it would try to take over my life and send me to the other place, down the stairs. We'd worked on it for a few days, and what we'd left was just some furniture to be moved. I was extremely grateful for my friend's support, who, unlike my sister, believed me from the beginning. We'd had so little due to left, just some furniture, as I said. So little. And I hadn't expected it to end like this. It was me, my friend, the one who saw the footage first, we'll call him Adam, and my sister Lisa. They were downstairs wrapping up the TV, and I was upstairs, lifting up the mattress. I could hear their voices downstairs. Tumchi, yeah, like that. Wait, no, hold it, you're literally not holding it. It's so heavy. And, okay, now help me up with the wrapper. Yeah, you dropped it on my foot. Please just be careful. Bring me the scissors. I'm thinking I'll just cut this tape up, like this. Mostly asked them to speak more, just so I wouldn't listen to the silence. Silence for me meant danger. After a while they stopped talking. I could only hear the sound of footsteps and things being dragged around. Lisa, Adam, no answer. Guys, my heart dropped. I made my way downstairs. I'd subconsciously counted the steps. 16, whatever. Lisa, Adam, no answer. Feeling around, the house was empty. No one was in the living room. No one was in the kitchen, just boxes and clothes. I sat on the couch, listening, hoping to hear some footsteps. But I was only greeted by silence, so heavy, almost a being of its own. I had the urge to leave. Made my way to the front door, but just as I was about to turn the doorknob, this feeling stopped me. I turned around and pressed my back on the door, feeling the phone in my pocket. "Hey Siri, call Lisa." She picked up. "Yeah, Will, is that you?" "Yes. Where are you? Where are you?" "Lisa, where's Adam? Why would you leave like this? You know you shouldn't leave me here alone." "What do you mean? Where are you?" "In the living room?" Her voice was shaking. "Will, where are you?" "In the goddamn living room. There's no one here." "I don't understand. You came down the stairs, and you're now sitting on the couch looking at me. Who is this? Who is calling me from your phone?" "It's me. Lisa, it's me. I'm telling you, I'm in the living room." "Then who is sitting on the couch?" "If it's not you." The moment of realization hit both of us gradually. I knew who was on the couch, or what was on the couch. And I knew that wherever I was, that wasn't my house anymore. I had finally managed to go down to the other place, and the thing had come back up, but this time with a more efficient disguise. "Listen to me, Lisa. That is not me. I need you to leave the house. Take Adam with you, please. Just get out." Suddenly, she said something that shocked me. "How do I know?" "How do you know what?" "That it's not you, on the couch. Is the thing just sort of staring at you?" "Yeah." "Well, move around a bit. It knows I'm blind, so it will pretend it is blind too. If you do something unexpected and it follows you with its eyes, you'll know." "Okay." I didn't hear much next, just movement. Then I heard her say, "Oh my God, it's true. What do I do now, Will? I'm scared." "I don't think it'll hurt you. Just don't let it know you know it's not me." "Okay. We'll just go back upstairs and hope I can somehow make it out." "Do you think it understands what we're saying?" "I don't know. Because if it does, then it also knows I know." I felt helpless, and for the first time in my life, I wished I could see so badly. I just wanted to get out of whatever this place was, back to my real house, but I could not find the staircase. I was stuck. What if I wasn't going to make it out of this place? "Please stay on the phone with me." "Okay. Adam, come here." "No." "What?" He talked to the thing. He thought it was you, and what is going on? "Adam, here, take the phone." I heard Adam's voice. "Yeah?" "Adam, listen. This is me. This is Will, and I'm stuck in this place. That up there is not me. Please don't talk to it. Don't let it know you know it's a copy." "What? Will? Is that you? Are you serious?" "Shut up. Shut up." "Whoa, buddy, don't touch me. Stay there. Freak, I need to call the police." "Don't call the police. If it knows you don't believe it's illusion, I don't know what it will do." "Lisa, take this. The villain calling the police. I'm tired of this shit." I heard some muffled voices, and then Lisa, again. "Maybe it's good that he's calling the police, right? Maybe the thing doesn't understand. We know it's not real." She stopped. "Don't act scared of it, Lisa. A fear's just normal." "I'm trying, but it just stood up now. Please, I don't know what it can do. It's walking towards me. I'm just scared." "Ew. What the fuck?" "What?" I listened as her voice changed from confusion to disgust, to fear, to terror. "What?" "Lisa, Adam." I couldn't make out what she was saying. At some point I thought I heard Adam. I was still desperate to feel around for that fucking staircase. I heard a thud, meaning Shed dropped the phone, and some screams, then muffled crying, and some sounds I could not make out. At this point, my whole body was tensed up, and my heart was beating so hard I was about to faint. The more noises I heard, the more I was convinced something sinister had happened, and as much as I tried to deny it, I knew. I had no choice but to listen to this scene through the phone, unable to help, and even if I'd been able to get out of this place, I couldn't see anything either. At some point, after I'd screamed my lungs out, my face drenched in sweat and tears, the noise stopped and this silence remained. This fucking silence. I hate silence. I kept wailing, hoping someone would respond. It could have been hours until I got a response, but not the one I hoped I would get. I heard some harsh movement, And then this hoarse, rotten voice that wasn't even a voice, but something like an animal trying to mimic a human. I think it'll just slip. For some, it would have been comical, but I knew that was just one of the phrases I used to say. It had just mimicking me again. Bring imi the sias, I saws. I think I will kuat this tie ape you. I listened, petrified. Meanwhile, my foot hit something. Stairs. Was it letting me go? I climbed up the stairs and found myself in my hallway. I could feel the familiar carpet under my feet. I went downstairs and sensed this smell that I couldn't identify. The floor was slippery. Lisa. Adam. I heard something run up the stairs, and just like that I knew the thing had left, for now. But my mind wasn't on the creature, but on Adam and Lisa. Guys. Walking around. In the slippery floor, my foot hit something. It felt like hair. Nothing in the world could describe how I felt in that moment. There is nothing I can type down here which will help you visualize, because not everything feels like something else. There is no analogy I can make. When you discover a crime scene, you usually see it first. I hadn't. I'd just been walking around their bodies clueless for a good few minutes. You know how it feels to not know something is blood, until you slip on it. To have to see if someone is alive by desperately feeling around her to find their hand, neck, pulse. To just crawl around, in their blood, running your hands through the mess, trying desperately to see any signs of life, calling out their name. I heard the door open, and I realized the police had come. Adam had probably called them, and they had finally managed to make an appearance. They found me, obviously, covered in their blood. Next to them, I didn't even know what the creature had actually done to them. No matter how hard I tried, they would not listen to me. They thought I was crazy. The next following days were a blur. Luckily, I had the footage of the thing from the past months, and the testimony of my remaining friends and family, plus Adam's call that clearly said, "Something is pretending to be my friend, and it may hurt us." They had downloaded the footage of the actual murder, but they refused to describe it to me. They just asked me to rest. But I can't, because no matter what, I want revenge. I am determined to find out the story of this thing, the story of this house, and its weird fucking portal staircase. And I want to kill this fucking creature, even if it is the last thing I do. For now, this is my final update. I might post more on my account, depending on what I come across. For now, I need rest. I have begun seeing a therapist, and I'm recovering. I still get nightmares. I wonder what I could have done better. But the truth is, I think I was doomed from the beginning. From the moment I'd counted one extra step on my staircase, the nightmare had begun. I have a friend who goes grave robbing, and he came to me with a confession. I want to start by saying I absolutely despise what he is doing. I believe it to be the vilest, most disgusting form of generating income. I have repeatedly told him that, and we even grew distant because of his hobby. It sucks, honestly. We used to be close in college. I come from a religious family, and I just could not tolerate his behavior. When he came to me, I reckon it had been years since we last talked. I recognized him immediately. I wish I hadn't. I could have just slammed the door into his face. He would have understood, but that's not me. Sadly, it was a Saturday night, almost 10 p.m., and I had just put the kids to sleep. My doorbell rang. It was peculiar. The empty house, my wife gone on a work trip to Wisconsin, the lights almost off, and a ringing echoes through the house. I stared at the long dark hallway that led to the front door, playing out every horror movie scenario in my mind. Finally, I asked who it was, and his raspy voice responded, "Dan, it's me. The Partridge. Theo, what do you want? It's late, you know. I just really need your help. You could have called." I looked through the peephole. There he was, alone, and he looked unsettled. I figured his work had finally caught up to him, and he had had enough. He had probably seen something chilling, and he had decided to quit. He had come to me to get help in finding a job. I opened the door. Theodore thanked me and came in. He shook my hand and told me to lock the door really well and turn off the porch light. "As you wish." I followed him to the kitchen. How strange of him to enter so confidently, so eager in my own house, and lead me to my own kitchen. He sat down and stared at me, blankly, not knowing how to begin. Would you like some tea? I guess I could make some, since I can go to sleep now. Your wife home? He asked, hushed. No. Kids? Asleep? Theo, and they're fine. Thanks for asking. Good. I'm really happy for you, Dan. He sounded so out of breath. Now that I think, I hadn't seen his car in the driveway. I wondered how he had got to my house. I lived in the suburbs, pretty far, close to the edge of the city. Look, I really need to speak to you on a matter, and I trust you, Dan. I know we've fallen out, but I want you to know that I have always looked up to you and respected you. I have always trusted you, and I know you're a good man. I sighed. All right, makes sense now. He wants to fucking borrow money. You want money, Theo? Is that what you're after? The gold digger job, near literally, does not suit you anymore. You couldn't get promoted. I narrowed my eyes. Please don't tell me you're in debt. God, did anyone follow you here? Is that why you told me to lock the door really well? Theodore looked away, and my heart sank. No fucking way. Get out. Theo, I have kids. No. I took his arm and meant to pull him to the door. He remained, however, unmoved, still as a stone, looking out the window. Get out, please. Dan, listen, I don't owe money. I just want advice. And a bit of moral hell, spiritual help. Sorry, Theo had come to me for spiritual help? Damn, he needed to see something really shocking out there to get like this. I put the kettle on the stove. What now, Theo? You saw a ghost? He hesitated. A long pause followed. Dan, can a person have two souls? The water started boiling, so I turned off the stove and poured it into 2 cups. What on earth do you mean? I mean, is it possible for 2 souls to be inside a body? I put the tea bags into the cups. For fuck's sake, Theo. No, in this economy? Not joking. Is this related to your... Yeah. Then don't make it gross. He followed me with his eyes as I took a jar of honey and poured a bit into the cups with a spoon. Dan, I have never touched a dead man. Well, that was weird to hear. Then how do you, do it? Yeah. Well, I do steal, but not jewelry or clothes. My work is far more complicated, finer, I'd say, meticulous, intricate, harder. Are you here to recruit, or what? Get to the point and drink your tea. Yeah. What I do, at least how I'd put it. I don't exactly steal. I perform. I'm not going to lie. He had lost me there. I told him that. You lost me there. I said. Another sigh. You religious, right? So you believe in this stuff. Demons, angels, all that crap. And at least have a sense of the laws in the universe. Well, one of them is, and I really looked into it. It's that a demon cannot enter you or do anything to you, anything major, if you do not consent. I mean, that's what half the thing is about. The fight between good and evil. Do you give in to temptation or not? You know all that. The choice is yours, blah blah blah. Stay true to good and reject evil. Are you possessed? No, Dan. I assure you, you are not in danger. You're safe. Now let me get to point 2. Another thing about demons is that they look for souls. A demon's purpose is to catch him. The more, the merrier. That's when he finally looked up at me. Did he want to make me sell my soul, or what? I could not, for the life of me, make out what the hell he wanted. He continued, slower, as if he was talking to some child or animal that needed to be tamed. I have studied this my whole life. My job is not for the weak. A soul, you might know, or not. A soul is most fragile when he is separated from the body. The rupture, they call it. It is a whole process that would take me ages to explain. One of the most complex processes in the universe, with an amplitude on both plans and dimensions. For reference, imagine the amount of energy this requires is 32 times greater than the one required when a star is created. At this point, I knew it. My friend Theo had finally lost it. I mean, it was expected. If you spend your life searching dead people's pockets, you go mad. I figured I'd let him speak, then assure him of whatever he wants to know and send him home. After all, he was my friend. My heart broke to see him like this. I had to help him in some way. Sometimes, a soul does not separate instantly from the body. You know it. People die, and then miraculously wake up. Resuscitation, clinical death, and so many other notions are part of this field. What they don't know is that the soul actually spends way more on earth after the person dies. It remains tied to the body for a time, then finally leaves, and that is when it is the weakest. This period of transition, or the wandering, as they call it, can take from hours to months, sometimes even years for the tormented ones who know what is expecting them. He took a sip of his tea. Back in college, I had a rather dark period. I got into a lot of weird stuff, but I was smart. My friends perished, but not me. Here, his eyes sparkled. Was it pride? Some people sell their souls to demons to succeed. Not me. I sell others' souls. I raised my eyebrows. First of all, I had no idea he was into this in college. So, you mean, we'd go drinking to pubs, and then he'd leave and take Satan shopping? Listen, Dan, I detect wandering souls using a few tricks. I visit said cemeteries. I catch them and sell them to them. Them? There's more? I'd rather not say names. Now let me speak. Since the body is dead, it cannot stop me, and I am extremely careful not to get haunted. I take all my precautions. They take the soul and give me what I want. And why do you need my help? I ask you again, can a body have two souls? Now, wouldn't you know better? Fucking soul seller. I know, but I still need your confirmation. No. Then it means something else was there. I took my head in my hands. This conversation had become tiring. What? See, I did my thing a few nights ago, and I sensed something else with us. Usually I have me, them, and the soul, and I can't see either. I literally stand alone, in the dark, holding my stuff, and just murmuring like a lunatic. And the only signs I get are the movements of the thread in my hand, or something brushing off my shoulder. Sometimes I feel pressure in my temples, and that is when the soul is stubborn. That night, however, something else was there with us. I figured, it wasn't human. It wasn't a demon either, because they don't intervene over each other's transactions. Then, what the hell could it be? It was still as the night and old, and I could almost see it. His eyes had darkened, and I was afraid that he might look at me. I feared I could not stand his gaze. The tea had gone cold. The house had grown quieter and darker. Dan, I fear I have played too close to death, and I need you to help me. All these years I was never once afraid. Throughout all the cemeteries and demons I dealt with, I knew I could reason with them. I had my art and my power, but now I stand on unstable ground. I don't know if it was the late hour, the tea, or the general story being dark, but the air was so still and so unfamiliar that even my tiniest movements seemed to bother. I suddenly got the urge to become small, to not disturb. What was I trying not to wake up? Dan, I need you to be my anchor. No fucking way. No fucking way. Whatever this guy wants, it's definitely not okay. And to be honest, crazy or not, if what he's saying is true, I don't want to be drawn into this. I can't. Theo, this is fucking crazy. I know. You cannot seriously ask me to do anything. I don't owe you anything. I need your help. No. In this matter, I can't help you. Dan, I'm gonna die. If you kick me out, it'll be your fault. What awaits me is sicker than death. Seek a priest. I can't. I need you. No, I sighed. Theo, no. Whatever you need me to do, I won't do it. Get out. I was seriously disturbed. You'll change your mind. Leave me alone. Please. Theo, I'll call the fucking police. I want to go upstairs to my kids. He sighed. For fuck's sake. The more I looked at him, the more I felt the shadows in the window behind him were moving. After what seemed like hours, I finally got him to leave. It was well over midnight. I was shaking when I opened the door. The street was so empty, and so dark, so still. This stillness I feared the most. He looked so fragile. You'll change your mind, Dan. Now go to your kids. I closed the door, locked it, triple-checked, then turned off the light and ran upstairs like a fucking toddler scared of the dark. You ever heard of little kids coming to their parents' bedroom to sleep, 'cause they're afraid? Well, I, a grown man, slept in my kids' room that night. What scared me the most was the calmness of it all. I certainly don't want to get involved, but I fear he may come back again. Since his visit, I have slept less and less. My wife came home and immediately sensed something wrong. She knows what's up with Theo the grave robbing part, yet I won't tell her about his visit. I'm just protecting her. Because, let me tell you, since our talk, I can help but feel this presence around, all the time. Even in my sleep. I had a dream that I was walking on a bridge. I couldn't see underneath, and every time I tried to look up, I got really nauseous. Suddenly, I felt a hand on my shoulder. I turned and saw Theo. Dan, this is dangerous if you're alone. How? I can't explain it to you fully. I just want you to trust me. You will suffer less. Out of all my friends, why would you pick me? It's ridiculous. I trust you. You make the call. I woke up before I could get to the end of the bridge. I turned to my wife, but she wasn't in bed. Something was up, and the feeling of nausea had come back. I stood up too fast and got dizzy, then sat on the bed. Hearing footsteps in the dark is never reassuring. I froze. That was not my wife, for the steps were too rhythmic. When in situations like these, one has two choices to make. 1, turn around and face whatever is there. 2, ignore it and wait for it to get to you by itself. I turned around. For reference, my bedroom is pretty big. I was sitting on the bed, with my back turned to the hallway that has the dressing on one side and the door to the bathroom on the other, with the door to the main hallway at the very end. I turned and was greeted by this dark hallway, poorly lit by the moon. My eyes adjusted, and my senses heightened. The door at the end was opened, and I could make out a silhouette. It looked almost normal, but something was off. Was it the uncanny angle the arms seemed to make? Knees bent slightly off, head a bit too long. I don't know. I couldn't put my finger on the flaw that made it inhuman. Next to the silhouette, a pile of something. Clothes? And what was the worse? What made my blood freeze? Wasn't that thing, but my son. He had woken up too, and was standing way behind that thing, in his bedroom doorframe, staring. He saw my eyes, wide and glassy, drowned in terror. I was telling him to go to his room. Don't come out. Whatever you hear next. He slowly closed the door. The silhouette did not move. I had to do something. Now, what I did next was not very heroic or smart, but I figured, make noise. So I screamed as loud as I could. I didn't even think I could scream like that. The silhouette flinched, but again, the flinch was off, as if it had seen us, humans, do it, and wanted to copy it. And I screamed again, and again. I was sitting on my bed and just screaming. In another context, it would have been comedic. The silhouette, then, walked out into the hallway. It hadn't turned. So was it walking backwards facing me, or had it been with its back to me facing my son the whole time? I don't know which was more terrifying. It left, through a window. I turned on the light. Where is my wife? The pile of clothes was a black coat. What the fuck? First thing, check on kids. They're fine. Check on wife. Didn't need to. She came running upstairs. What the fuck happened? What the fuck, Dan? She had heard my screams. She explained. She had been in the kitchen because she couldn't sleep. I told her everything. Her reaction was, of course, rational. Theo had gone mad, and that could be either been him, threatening me, or one of his friends to whom he owed his debts. Either way, we made one thing clear. We were going to move out. I was so sick at that point that I went and puked. I just had this awful feeling. Something bad was about to happen. We didn't even wait. Packed essentials right up and drove to her mother, in the middle of the night. After this, an encounter. The only thing I felt compelled to do was to seek a priest. You know what the weirdest thing is? In horror movies, in books, anywhere the main character, upon encountering the evil, feels repulsed, wants to get away from it, but it rarely feels tied to it. I mean, it will seem crazy, but this darkness, these arts seem to pull me closer. Was it curiosity, or the desire to finish what somebody else had started? I drove to one of the churches I used to go to as a child, and asked for Father Lewis, one of the priests that had watched me grow up, and that also knew Theo. Upon telling him the story, he remained silent for a while. I felt uncomfortable, and began to lose my patience, because he just wouldn't speak. He broke the silence with a sigh. Daniel, I feel sorry for your friend. From what you've told me, he's already doomed, and I fear he may have led what is chasing him to you. But are these real? The rupture? The wandering? I wouldn't know for sure. I have always been oriented towards the light, and never questioned or tried to draw a map of God's phenomenon. I don't deny their existence. Science and religion are tied together, but I value knowledge through revelation, not through study. I feel that whatever God wants me to know about his work, he'll show to me. The darker side, however, demons and what else lurks below, they give you this knowledge not because you deserve it, or because you have proved to be worthy of it, but because they want to make it your burden. They want to tie you to it, and to them, it weakens you, and then they take advantage of you. Since Theo consented to this stuff, I fear he lost himself. The thing I saw, was it him? I wouldn't know. Daniel, you say you let him inside. Yeah, I mean, he's still my friend. Father Lewis took my hand in his. Be careful. It is very dark stuff you're dealing with. It's a chance something else entered your home along with him. Grave robbing is horrible. But what Theo did, that's just on another level. Is there a way to get rid of him, of this presence, or will it just haunt me forever? Can you help? I am not initiated in this dark science. However, if you want to work it out, you should go to someone specialized. Do you know people who buy antiques and sell them at auctions? Why? There's a special side of the market for people who look for different antiques, old books, tables, artifacts that are tied to certain cults or religious rituals. I suggest you seek one of them. They know a lot about what they're selling, the dark arts, and they could help you. But I advise you, don't go actively looking to know more than you need. Knowledge is power, but sometimes not your power. And you think it will help me understand how to protect myself from such happenings, like seeing stuff? The black coat? What did that even mean? The priest's expression was understanding, but I felt a strange undertone. Was it fear? Did he know something I didn't? Daniel, I don't mean to scare you. Well, that certainly couldn't be good. The black coat is a symbol of death. Then, so will I die. Let's not rush to conclusions. You don't know what it means. Signs often bring more mystery than they find. That isn't very comforting. I pray for you, boy. I pray for you and your family. Thank you, Father. Oh, and another thing, he said, as I was leaving, I don't advise you to go back to your house until you know what to do. It's not yours anymore. My heart sank. My mind was so tired that I couldn't feel an ounce of fear anymore, but I still understood the gravity of his words. I understand. Left without saying a word, I knew who to look for. My friend Jenna had this ex who hosted auctions. Once I had access to that field, I could easily find who I was interested in. At first, I hadn't any determination to act, but after the dream and the encounter, I fear I'm already part of this charade, and passivity is not a solution anymore. I must seek a professional, and either get rid of Theo, or figure out how to cut ties completely. And I'm not talking about blocking him on my phone and moving houses, because I know that won't help. I need to do something more serious. As I am turning on the engine, I can see something in my rear-view mirror. Watching, I had to keep driving. After meeting the priest, I had to keep driving. For fuck's sake, I was going to crash. I just knew it. I was being followed, not by a car, not by a person. Heck, I was even alone in the car. I was being fucking followed by a presence. Death itself, shall I say. Fucking shit. All I could think was fear, fear, fear. The horizon was darkening, and the streetlights turned on, and this terror had taken over me. I would run out of gas, and the thing would fucking get me. Ahead of me, trees. Behind me, trees. The road was long and wide. Where was I going? Suddenly, I hit the brakes. Something was blocking the road. Oh shit. It was close to midnight, and I knew it couldn't be good. The night was dark, but not dark enough to conceal. The silhouette again. It stood up and walked closer, in a nightmarish, ritualic dance. It was a ghastly figure. Hollow eyes, long arms and legs, unnatural, and yet it was comical. It was trying to walk like a human. The creature was, though, horrifying. It looked like a bunch of shadows and skin thrown together. It walked to my window and stared at me. This is how death looks like. I told myself, it's going to take me. Then, it left. It walked back into the woods. I thought I had died of fear, but apparently I hadn't. Sweat was dripping down my face, mixed with tears. I took my phone and searched through my contacts frantically. My hands were trembling so hard, I accidentally called my aunt. Shit, I hung out quickly and kept searching. Jade S. Jan from comms. Jem. Jenna. That's it. It rang for a while before she picked up. Dan. Yeah, hi. I'm sorry. What's wrong? I need your help. Do you happen to still talk to that guy you knew? The rituals antique kinda guy. You know, the one with the weird voodoo tables and shit. A short pause. What? For fuck's sake. That Kevin guy. Come on. Kelvin. Yeah, why? What could you possibly need from him? Are you suddenly into all that? Or what? She laughed. Nah, I just need to talk to him. There's this creepy guy at work who won't leave me alone. Because I promised to help him find some antique cellar. I don't know. Oh, okay. Yeah, I can give you his number tomorrow. Can't you do it now? All right. The guy must be really stalking you. You have no idea. I called the Kelvin guy immediately. He didn't pick up. It was way over 1 a.m. Called him until he answered. Who is this? Hi, is this Kelvin, the ritual antique guy? Literally no one calls me that. Why? I really need to talk to you. Pause. Okay. Are you gonna sell me something? I actually need your dark-ass knowledge. What? You want me to do what? Dude? Are you drunk? Listen, you need to help me. My friend sells souls, and he fucked with the wrong thing, and now some shit is chasing me, and I think it's death. I have kids, man. I am dealing with all that. Yeah, you're drunk. I don't know who gave you this number. I know about the processes. Rupture, wandering. I know all that. Please. I heard a long sigh. Fine. We can meet tomorrow, if you really want to. I'll text you. The next day, here I was, in this crusty diner, waiting to meet this Kelvin. He walked in, and I suddenly realized why he chose such a career. The guy looked like a loser. I explained everything to him. He stood silent for a while, then spoke. I know people like Theo. He thinks that just because he knows how to read a ritual book, he can tame a demon. Demons aren't like us. They aren't fair. There are no terms and conditions to a transaction that is happening outside our sphere, our world. He probably already sold his soul, and he doesn't know it. The poor guy is gonna end up killing a bunch of people, and then himself in a few years, because that's when the possession fully unveils. And what did he even get because of this? Some money? A nice girl? Not worth it. What was the thing that was following me? He narrowed his eyes. That could have been Theo in his demon form. Probably. He said he wanted you to be his anchor. That's code for, I'm gonna try to use you in another ritual to regain my humanity. But I'm gonna kill you, and probably the both of us will be doomed. Well, that didn't sound good. So, what do? He won't leave me alone. I thought that was death. Bullshit. Death follows people who died and can't go. Death is pretty harmless if it gets to do its job in peace. What do I do, man? You need to kill him before the demon takes over. Kill my friend? I am not a murderer. Either that, or have your family and yourself die by his hands. You pick. This was crazy. Fuck. How do I even do this? Kelvin then took out a book from his bag and talked me through one of the craziest things I had ever heard. Not only did I have to kill him, I also had to perform this ritual to make sure the demon wouldn't enter me. I needed salt, wax, matches, rope, and a knife. Listen, kill him however you want. Poison him, for all I care. Just make sure he dies. Then, take the wax and melt it in his palm and left ear. Say him to a stable thing. A tree. Circle him with salt. Read from this, and then cut the rope and bury your friend. Nothing will happen to you. Shit like this happens all the time. Believe me. I'm not gonna lie. Kelvin didn't look impressed by the story. How often do people play with this stuff? That night, I had sent my wife and kids away and returned to the house. I felt afraid, but at the same time, I was curious. I called Theo and told him I'd help him. My heart was heavy, but I was going to do what needed to be done. He arrived, just like in the first night he had visited me. A familiar knock at the door, and when I answered, he was even wearing the same clothes. I'm so glad you can help me. You are a real friend." He didn't seem in any way, nor relieved, nor happy. He just seemed distant. Walking to the kitchen, he did something unexpected. He tripped a bit, but his body moved almost unhinged for a moment. Had it already begun? The possession? Was I in danger? "Anything for you," I said. "Fucking demon. I thought, I won't let you take my life and soul. Let me make you some tea." Theo accepted. He sat down at the kitchen table. In silence, as I was boiling the water, I saw the creature's reflection in the window. It stood behind him. Still, I had to be brave. "So, what exactly do I need to do? I feel like you're not telling me everything. Too much knowledge can kill you. All you need to know is that you'll be my anchor, and you'll be safe. Don't lie." I couldn't stop. I was angry. Fucking liar. Possessed or not, he was my friend. Whatever, our friendship had gone to shit when he decided to lie to me, and I decided to kill him. I then poured a cup, enough poison to kill a horse, gave it to him. Theo smiled, but his eyes were hollow. He stared at the cup of tea in his hands. His knuckles were white, veins visible through his paper skin. For a moment, I thought he had found out my intentions. Then he drank it. That's it. He had killed my friend. I went to the living room, leaving him in the kitchen. He would soon start to choke, go through all those stupid stages that I didn't want to see. I would soon hear him scream. I heard him put the cup down, then silence. Morbid, dead silence. Nothing. Minutes passed. I waited 20 fucking minutes. Then I heard footsteps and turned. I froze. Theo was standing in the doorway, like a lost, fragile boy. His lips were trembling, and his eyes were wide. He held his horrified stare at me. He was alive. "What happened, Dan? Aren't you going to help me? Did you like your tea?" I asked, trembling. "What the fuck?" Theo smiled. "Yeah, a bit tasteless. Did you put something in it?" I didn't fucking understand. I took his hand and felt his pulse, and that's when it hit me. Nothing. You can kill something that's already dead. The glassy eyes, peculiar way of acting, pale face, he had died. The creature had been, in fact, death, following Theo. Suddenly, it all made sense. Why the monster didn't want me.
What did you say? You felt that night when you made the transaction. The third being.
I told you, Dan. Still and old. Not a soul, not a demon. Could that be death? He paused. He looked lost. Maybe. Sometimes. I read it somewhere. It can get mad that you fuck with its business. Theo, death didn't come for them. You are a good merchant. Good businessman. I could not believe it. Suddenly, it made sense. Theo, you died. I watched as my friend opened his mouth to speak, then closed it. He frowned. "No, you're lying. I can't be. How'd you get here?" "I drove here." "Which car did you take?" All he did was stare, disoriented. He scratched his head, took a few steps back. "I don't understand. You're fucking with me. When you felt the presence, did you finish the transaction?"
No,
I don't think so. I couldn't. Why? I don't fucking know, Dan. Something intervened. You lost your physical fucking form. You were no longer tied to your body, because you fucked with some voodoo shit too powerful for you, and you died on the spot. The presence you felt was death, wanting to take you. However, due to some stupid magic, or because of whoever demon took you under its care, cause of the souls you sold it, you managed to remain here. You are being kept alive by this demon, because it needs you here, and after it's done with you, it's probably gonna take your soul too. His eyes were full of tears. "Nah man, you're wrong. See, I did some good. He spit out the words. "Research. I am good at what I do. I can't die. I'm not possessed by anything. A demon cannot enter you without your consent." Yeah. When you are alive, this is why you wait for people to die to sell their souls. Not only did you die, you didn't even know it. You were cursed from the beginning. He frowned again. "You're crazy." I felt about to scream. The clock was ticking. "You are dead." "Fucking prove it," he cried. "You are dead, because I fucking poisoned the tea, and you didn't die, which means you are already gone." Theodore stared at me. Confusion washed over his face. Then anger, betrayal. His lip trembled, hands shaking. You tried to kill me? I did. And look where that got me. You need to go. Accept it. You died. Fuck no. You tried to kill me. 'Cause you were fucking stalking me. You're a bigger psychopath than me. I would have never hurt you. No, you wouldn't. But the thing inside you would have. There is no thing inside me. If you would just, go into the light, maybe you could escape. IDNT die. Yeah, well, tell that to the thing that has been standing behind you for the past 10 minutes. I had never seen someone so still, so afraid. He slowly turned around and faced the creature that had been terrorizing me. He didn't even scream. He just stared at it. The creature stepped towards him, then placed a long finger on his forehead. Theo suddenly shivered and fell to his knees. When he looked back up, I could make out something wild in him. Was it the demon? I needed to act fast. I grabbed the salt. He understood. Suddenly, I thought I sensed something else in his look. Was it relief? So, I'll leave. Yeah, I'm sorry. What will happen to my soul? Probably already owned by a demon. I thought. That's what you get for playing with shit you don't understand. You'll be fine. You think? Yeah. He looked down. I never thought it would end like that. Dan? Yeah. I need you to get the fuck away from here. What? Why? Theo sighed. I'm gonna let myself go. But it's gonna be ugly. If whatever demon wants to take me, it's gonna do it now. You need to run. I could barely speak, so I whispered, okay. They're gonna fight over me. I worked with plenty of them. I don't know when I'm gonna be at peace, if I will. But get out. Don't come back to this house. Ever. Don't sell it. I cursed it. I took a few steps back, to the front door. Thanks, Dan. For what? For being my anchor. I needed you to help me understand. You're welcome. And that's when I closed the door behind me and ran as fast as I could. I haven't seen Theodore since. I haven't returned to my former house. It's been years. Nothing peculiar has followed. I'm good. I still can't watch any horror movies because of that. I managed to get out mostly because of luck. Please, if your grave robber friend knocks on your door late at night, don't answer. It's no good. Peaches. My mother was a kind, gentle woman whose hands never hurt anyone. She had been a nurse throughout her life. That's how she met my father, who was a successful doctor at the time. Their story unfolded in the very house she was living in, which used to belong to her parents. Their playful glances across the porch and his ridiculously common visits. Their first kiss, where he met her family, her at the east window, and him down on the grass, while they were still a secret. She always loved to talk about him, about how shiny her life became after she met him. Julia, darling, he is proof love exists. I have never met someone whose soul touched mine like that. If you have a purpose in life, it should be finding that shimmer. I see God in him every day. He truly saved me. I always admired the devotion my mother had for my father. Him, on the other hand, wasn't so in love. I don't remember much of him. He died when I was young. The more I try to think of him, the more his face slips away through my memory, like sand through someone's fingers. My father was a sober, intellectual man whose ambition had always been science. They called him the Dove, because of his shiny white coat, and because of how often he'd bring good news to his patients. His studies were, as they said, brilliant. His discoveries, rays of hope, the diamond of medicine, they said. Even the brightest diamond has to be buried one day. His ambition, however, casted a long shadow after he died. I got into medicine, mostly because of my mother, who supported me and helped me throughout my studies and hard years of trying to make a name for myself. Soon enough, my mother started slipping away too. For her, death came in waves, like the sea eroding a stone wall, patient and cold. The first to go was her mind. I always visited her, and when I did, I'd bring her a basket of peaches. That reminded her of my father, I think. That's what she had always said. She would smile and take them away. I felt responsible to keep this fragment of him still alive. When she'd see the peaches, her eyes would light up, and her mouth would fall slightly open. Towards her end, she stopped speaking. I don't even think she recognized me, but she remembered the peaches. One night, I had to make my visit a little late. Double shifts had gotten the best of me, and when I arrived, even the sky seemed to be cross with me, gathering clouds silently and flashing a few lights in the distance. The air carried a vast calmness, and the trees lay still as stones. I made my way through the front yard and knocked on her door, like my father had once done. She didn't open it. I knocked again. Greeted with silence, I came in by myself. The house was dark and cold, like a tomb. A warm, welcoming light shone upstairs. I made my way to her bedroom, where she sat at the window watching over the fields. When she saw me, a flicker in her eyes made my chest tighten. She remembers me. "Yulia, is that you?" It was the first time in months to hear my name out of her mouth. "Yeah, Mom, it's me. I'm here." A few tears gathered in my eyes. For some reason, it just felt so familiar, so intimate. Love. She saw the peaches and looked down. "I brought you some peaches. I know you liked them." She sighed. Her trembling hands took the basket and placed them in the corner of the room. The house had this sweet smell of summer. "I miss you, Mom." "I know." That night I sat next to her, and we talked like we had never talked before. As the storm raged around us, I felt so safe with her, and the basket of peaches sat in a corner and somehow made me think my dad was in the house with us. In the morning, when I left, she told me one last thing. "Yulia, please promise me you'll search for love, like you and Dad." A painful expression swept over her face. Was his grief? "Promise me you'll look for it." "Yeah, Mom, I will." As she turned to close the door behind her, I heard a faint whisper. "Do you know why he brought me peaches all the time?" Why? That was his nickname for me. I smiled. Then, as I was walking to my car, another faint whisper. "Because he said I bruised like a peach." I stopped and turned around, but she was already gone. She died a few days later. Since then, an odd wave of sadness swept over me. Now that I think of it, I remember sitting in my dad's office, looking over his notebooks, his beautiful cursive writing. I always wondered how similar their writings were. How, everywhere he went, people applauded him for his marvelous work. His work, the love she had for him, and the love he had for science, and the terrible accident that cut his life short. Maybe I was thinking too much into it, though I felt as if my world had shattered before my eyes. The ideal love, the bliss I had looked up to, had been an illusion kept up by a mother who wanted to bring up her child in a different world. Did she really suffer? There was no doubt in how much she loved him, but she suffered nonetheless. I could not bear to revisit that house, because I felt afraid I'd discover my doubts were true. However, a few months passed, and May brought me there. The house smelled sweet. I went through all the rooms, my childhood memories. The sweet, sticky smell brought me to the basement. Weird. I don't remember the last time I went in there. Down the stairs, the smell became so strong it almost made me gag. Sweetness. The room was pitch black. Aside from the darkness, I sensed something else. Movement. As my eyes adjusted and my fear began creeping in, I made out something laying in the dark. It was a huge shape, something like a big pile. Was it moving? Panic settled in and I frantically searched for the light switch. As the room exploded with light, suddenly thousands of flies blocked my vision. They were everywhere in my eyes, mouth, nose. I screamed and gagged as the vile bastards flew around, smelling of decay and rot. After I got rid of them, I looked down, only to stare in disgust at dozens of baskets with rotten, decaying peaches, piles and piles of fruit melting away. Of all colors, some white from the mold, some black, as if eaten from the inside. The flies went in and out, like worms from a decaying corpse, and the pile itself seemed to move, an abominable monster. Everywhere I looked, peaches. I took a few steps back and stepped on soft matter, which made me gag. However, I could not leave. I only sat and stared in disbelief. Only what I saw next broke my trance. I ran straight out and puked in the bushes nearby, then locked up that inferno of a house and drove away without saying a word. And I've been silent ever since. Silence is what saves me. I am afraid that if I ever speak, I won't stop, or tell them about the rot, the flies, the mold, most importantly, or tell them about the hollow orbs that stared at them from the other side of the room, about the bony hand which lay next to the rotten fruit, about the dirty, ripped shirt and dried-up bones. The skeleton, surrounded by his peaches, looked like a veritable king of the rot. I'll defend her to my grave. My mother was a kind, gentle woman whose hands never hurt anyone. My brother with eyes made of sticks. He was not actually my brother, but that's what I like to call him, because it made him less scary. He lived above me, in apartment number 22. I lived in apartment 19 with my mom. It's an 8-story building, not concrete gray, but with light brown walls and floors that have no color anymore because of how many times they've been scraped. Traces of paint hang from the walls and pipes of all shapes form some sort of labyrinth. A few weeks before, I wanted to go all the way up because I remembered going on the roof as a child with my dad. That was the most interesting thing about this building, and the least creepy. I wondered if it was still accessible, or if the landlord had put some sort of lock on the door for safety issues. I didn't have to climb a lot of stairs from my apartment, just up until the 8th floor and then an additional set. On top of it was the door. I had never bothered to go so far, and now the building seemed strange. Not mine. It's so weird how you can live somewhere for so long, and yet keep parts of it unknown. The door was obviously locked up, which was a bit disappointing. I had really hoped I'd be able to sneak in. It seemed like a cool hangout spot. I gave up and went back to my apartment, but I was determined to break the lock, some sort of rebellious instinct I'd never really had before. The next day, as I was coming back from school, something caught my eye on my doorstep. Something shiny. I bent down and picked up 2 wires, which seemed like they came from some bent pins. One of them was shaped like it had a little handle, and the other was just bent in the middle, all the way. Could it be? I looked up, then around. The long hallway was silent. No one on the stairs. I went up to the 8th floor and dropped my backpack there, for some reason. As I stared at the door of apartment 22, I sort of knew that whoever lived there had seen me the day before. Apartment 22 was the only one on the 8th floor. The whole floor looked very depressing, and the door was made of metal. I got a bit creeped out, and just went higher. I bent down and stuck one pin into the lock, then just passed the other through the hole, until I started hearing some clicks. It was actually quite easy to hear those, as the silence had it echo even harder. That, and the beating of my heart. After some excruciating minutes, right when I was about to give up, a final click, and the lock opened. A wave of triumph washed over me, and I opened the door. The space outside was way smaller than I'd imagined, but good enough. I started spending my days there. Sometimes with friends, sometimes alone. Occasionally, I'd hear some scraping sounds from below, where apartment 22 was, and some thuds, but I didn't mind. I started playing music, bringing girls, making the most out of that unique private space where I could see everything in the city. One night I was there with my girlfriend Sandra. We were having some beer and just talking about life, when the scratching and the creaking started. Yeah, excuse that. It's just some weird neighbor. Dude, do they really move furniture this late? Screech. Yeah, I guess. I don't know what they do. They actually gave me some pins to open the lock to the roof. I guess they're not so bad. She raised her brows. How do they look? I have no idea. They left them on my doorstep. That's weird. What the fuck? Bang, bang. Bro, fucking stop it. I yelled, trying to seem brave and macho in front of her. It stopped. I never heard the sounds again. A week or so passed, and one evening I was coming home and took the stairs as usual, as the elevator never worked. Looking up the 8 sets of stairs, I thought I saw something at the very end. It was dark, but it looked like a spot, a lighter one, gray. I reached the 1st floor and looked again. The spot was a bit bigger, and it also had a bit of darkness on one side. The 2nd floor in mine. A person was probably bending down to look at me. My heart skipped a beat. Was it the guy I'd yelled at? That creep? I just hoped he'd leave me alone. 3rd floor. I could make out his face clearer. He was drained of color and had some sort of glasses on. 4th, 5th, 6th. I could not make out his eyes, for the love of me. Were those bandages? Old man. He could have been blind, explains all the noise. As I reached my floor, horror set over me. I realized he had sticks in his eyes. No actual eyes, just some sticks poking out, not even a wound. What the fuck? You know that moment when you're terrified, but you can't even scream. You just stare? For some reason, I didn't want to go back to my apartment after what I'd just seen, and I was curious. So I climbed up to the 8th floor. The guy was pale and fragile, like a kid. He must have been 13, 14. He didn't say anything, just stared. Hi, you live here? I said, and pointed to apartment 22. The thing reached out with a ghastly hand, and his cold fingers felt my own. I shivered and could not protest. His purple nails trailed around my arm. He really is blind. He could not see where I was pointing. He then nodded. Oh, okay. Can you talk? Yes. His voice was quiet and guttural, like he had some sort of cold. Cool. Thanks for the wires. You know, the roof. He was so fucking terrifying, and the hallway was so unwelcoming, that I fought the urge to sprint out of there every minute that passed. No problem. Sorry for the sounds. It's not my fault. I hear them too. It's fine. Don't worry. Maybe he wasn't so bad. Despite his appearance, which made me puke and bawl my eyes out, he could be decent. We stood there in silence for a while. I didn't want to turn my back on him. So, I think I'm gonna go. It was nice seeing you. Okay. See you another time then. He sounded disappointed. Yeah, see you. From then on, I'd see him stare at me from the top of the stairs. Not every time, just some days. I'd be so nervous and terrified to come home, and so relieved when I saw he was not there. Every time he was, though, I'd stop and have a terrible small talk with him. I guess I felt sorry for whatever fate he had. I was avoiding him so fucking badly, though. God, did I hate him. I hated how unnatural he looked, how he made my skin crawl. I tried to not make any sound, thinking he didn't hear me, but he always heard. He always knew. One day, I was coming home with my friends. I had completely forgotten about my neighbor, and as I reached the 1st and 2nd floor with them, something prompted me to look up, and I saw him stare down at me. Panic rushed over me as I turned to them and said, "Okay, change on plans. We're going somewhere else." "Dude, what are you talking about?" "It'll tell you. Move." I rushed them out, but I didn't want to tell them the truth. I just said I had some creepy old man with dementia, and I didn't want him to ruin our mood. They believed it. Coming back home, I could see him there. I went up and he spoke first. "Do I embarrass you?" "No." "Then what is it?" "No, it's just, my friends aren't like me. They are meaner and might make fun of you." "Then, why do you stay with them?" "I have no choice." "You have a choice." "Well, I'd be lonely." "You wouldn't." "I'm lonely all the time. It's fine. We can be each other's friends." "I'd rather fucking die." I sighed and scratched the back of my head. "What happened to your eyes?" I was expecting him to lie. I wanted him to lie. "My mother took them." The words just floated there for a while, until I found my voice. How?" She poked them out with her nails. I had to stick something up there, so my insides wouldn't pour out. I found sticks. That explanation wasn't better. "Is she still here?" "Yeah, but she never comes out." "Then who comes out? Who gets groceries? Who does all the regular stuff? Is your mother ill?" "Yeah, very ill. I take care of her. I bring food and water." "That's good. You are a good son. Despite what she did to you." The boy didn't say anything. He turned and went back to his door, then opened it, revealing an almost empty room, except for a chair and some very small paintings, crooked and hanged from the walls. "Do you want to come in? We can play. I have toys." "I can't." "What if your mom takes my eyes out too?" "She can't. She is too ill." "Have you ever thought about getting her to a hospital? Maybe they will look at your eyes too, give you some glass ones, so they look more natural." "No." "Why not?" "Because I cannot see. It's not safe. It'll take you." The boy closed the door gently and left me there. I was determined to get some help for him. I did not care. whether he wanted to or not. This child was in danger and deserved a better life. The first thing I did was to tell my own mom. Mom, there's a kid living upstairs and his mom abuses him. He can't leave his floor. And she took his eyes out. My mom's hand stopped from smashing the potatoes. She looked up at me, in shock. What do you mean? I'm serious. We need to call the police or something. That kid only talks to me. He is afraid of her, but doesn't want to show it. After I'd explained all the details, she went with me to the police station, and we reported the case. In a week or so, 2 armed men climbed the stairs with me and knocked on the metal door. Hey, it's me. I changed my mind. We can play now, I said. Silence. Hey, are you there? Please let me in. I can play with you now. No answer. They finally forced the door. The empty room greeted us, as I remembered it. As they walked in, they told me to stay outside. A few excruciating minutes passed. As I stood there, I tried hard to hear any sound, just some footsteps and hushed remarks. Suddenly, there was silence. Holy fuck. No. What? I rushed in. The screams were coming from the farthest room. There hung his mother, rotting away, surrounded by rotted food, and they said she'd killed herself way before. Months. Even before I'd known him. The note she'd left was crumpled up on the floor, next to the chair she'd probably kicked out. Voices are always there, day and night. They speak weirdly of me. They call me Medusa. I have a son and a daughter. She left long ago. The other one is not so bright. He doesn't understand me. He refuses to look at me. He just asks for his father. I wish we were with him, but he was fucking selfish and left. And I tried, even if I didn't want to. I tried, but they speak so loud, and his eyes are his father's, and his father killed himself, and now burns in hell. He saw him jump. He shouldn't have seen him like that. It is way too traumatic for a child. I am sorry for him. I will not let him see me do it. He doesn't deserve it. The note ended abruptly. The poor boy could not see his dead mother. He felt her and thought she was ill. I could not bear to think what he went through all these months, and maybe even before that. He was nowhere to be found in the apartment. I hoped he'd finally ran away. We moved out of the city, me and my mom. I decided I would not let this incident define my life. I decided I'd have a life, a career, and succeed in spite of this trauma. The nightmares were eventually kicked out of my head by my therapist. I chose psychology as my major and dedicated my life to children, rescuing them from abusive homes. Years had passed, maybe 20, 25, and life eventually led me back to that building. It had been closed down, but an invisible string pulled me through the metal doors and to the flights of stairs I had always climbed. Terror was not there anymore, just a macabre sadness and silence. I could still see his face stare down at me. I went up the roof and relieved a bit of my teenage years. The nostalgia rushed over me. Then, a thought appeared. At first it was random, and I didn't give it any importance, but it started bugging me. I had not seen any toys in apartment 22. Well, maybe he packed them up when he left. No, he didn't. I don't think he did. Maybe he was playing with sticks. No, I don't believe that. Just leave. You can leave that mystery for another day. This train of thought had led me to the metal door. I opened it and stepped inside. The place was untouched. The only difference was, obviously, that the body was gone. However, apparently the rancid smell had lingered. I could still feel it. It had been absorbed by the walls. The room where she died was the same. I saw the toy chest in the corner, below the window. I felt a bit comforted. At least he really did have toys to play with, not sticks. I was glad he'd left this hellhole. I went there and opened it up. Out of curiosity, I lay down on the putrid floor and closed my eyes. Suddenly, the whole room started spinning. I let out a cry, then another. Finally, I stood up and ran down the stairs, into the car, turned on the engine, and drove far, far away. He'd heard the police. I turned the radio up. He was scared. He wanted to hide. He called to his mom for help. She didn't answer. I was going 90 miles per hour. He thought he'd found a place to hide, somewhere safe. He couldn't see. Cracked open a window. I needed to get some air. He got stuck. Blue lights behind me. All these years. I pull up. The policeman comes to my window. Do you know how fast you were going? I know. And I don't care. The fine doesn't get to me. My license apparently will be taken away for a few months. I don't care. All I do is stare into the distance as he writes me a ticket. I don't cry. I don't argue. I stay silent. And I wonder how long it'll be until I speak again. Do you think he knows we're awake? I'm 15, and I was home alone one night with my sister, who's 7. Our parents were out at some wedding, and they'd left us home. Honestly, I liked that. Who doesn't like having the house to themselves? My sister was little enough to not bother me that much, so I had the job of watching her, making sure she ate, took her meds, went to sleep at a reasonable hour. Except, well, I didn't really care about putting her to sleep. I promised her that she could stay up as late as she wanted. She's a kid. It's a Saturday night. It's not the end of the world. Plus she'll probably only resist up until 1 a.m. and then fall asleep on the couch or something. Mom and Dad left around 7. Remember, no staying up late. Eat what we left you on the counter. There's some macaroni. If you want more, there's more in the fridge, said Dad. Leia, if you want to eat yogurt, take it out of the fridge and leave it out for a bit to warm up. Don't eat it cold. You'll get a sore throat. Yeah, Mom, I know, I replied. If Dina wants to, you can give her some Pepsi, but please don't let her exaggerate with it. She'll never fall asleep. Okay. Make sure the windows are closed. Maybe leave the bathroom one open. All right. I know. Okay. Love you. Bye. As soon as they left, I turned to Dina and said, well, what do you want to do? She was pretty excited that we were alone. The first thing she wanted to do was watch TV in the big bedroom and eat popcorn. Mom would have commented on the smell, but Mom wasn't home. After, we played some video games on my older brother's console, who'd left it here after he moved out. He didn't have many, so we played Need for Speed for a while, and kept crashing into walls and trees and each other because of how bad we were at this. We ate dinner, then some ice cream. I tried to make a milkshake, but it didn't really taste that good, and I ended up having to spend ages to clean the blender. I left her upstairs and watched some YouTube in the living room, then went up to my parents' bedroom and started looking through my mom's closet. I found some bags she literally never wore, and I stole it. I was trying out some clothes when Dina came into the room. What are you doing? Just looking at stuff. Mom's? Does it fit you? Well, not everything, but some things work. Do you like fashion? She asked, throwing herself on the bed. Yeah, she has some pretty cool stuff. Vintage. I picked up one of her scarves. Just don't go around saying I'm going through her stuff when I'm alone. Why? Doesn't she let you do that? She doesn't mind, but still. Okay, it was around midnight. It's getting pretty late. Aren't you tired? No, not really, she responded, her eyes glimmering. After a bit, she tilted her head and, watching me fold back Mom's clothes, asked me something that seemed pretty ordinary. Do you think he knows we're awake? Who? Dad. He told us not to stay up late, especially you, but I think he knows we weren't gonna listen. He doesn't mind though, don't worry. She paused. Again, I closed the closet door. Not Dad. I stopped. Then who? She didn't answer. I turned to face her. Who were you talking about? Dina seemed to hesitate. I had watched too many movies about kids saying freaky things, and I remember thinking, I swear to God, if she says some weird shit like the Hat Man or the man in the hallway, him packing our bags and getting the fuck out. I was already starting to feel uneasy, and I didn't need her building into that fear. I don't know. What do you mean? Who knows we're awake? I saw him at the window. When we were eating. My blood ran cold. Who did you see? What the fuck? Hey, don't say that. Who did you see? I don't know. She started playing with her sleeves. Someone was out there. I saw their face in the glass. They were pretty close to the window, and they seemed to watch us. Why didn't you say anything, Dina? I didn't think it was a big deal. Was it a he?
I think, yeah. He looked very tired, and he had no brows.
I was literally paralyzed. Okay, we're going downstairs, and you're gonna show me where you saw this thing. Oh, I didn't see him downstairs. What do you even mean? You said he was watching us eat. Yeah, eat popcorn. Upstairs. Eat popcorn.
In our parents' bedroom.
Upstairs. It's Dina wouldn't make this up. She wasn't like that. My eyes darted to the window. No one was there. You know how, during the night, all you see out the window is darkness. How you're afraid, how you have this irrational fear that you might see someone else, or something else, staring back. Well, that's what was playing in my head at that time. I started asking her more about this man, this thing. I don't know. I mean, I only see him sometimes. He just watches, and doesn't say anything, but I know he comes in when we sleep. Are you making this up? Not. I sometimes fall asleep to him staring at me, and when I wake up he's gone, but the window is open, or the things in my room are different. Sometimes I catch him off guard and wake up in the middle of the night, and he crawls out of the room through the window, quickly. It's funny. He comes in, and you let that happen. I don't mind him. I think he's just curious. Maybe he wants what us humans have. He's like Ariel. Oh, shut up. You're seriously comparing this thing to the Little Mermaid. What the fuck, Dina? She was starting to feel uncomfortable. She hadn't probably expected me to get so angry. Then, she smiled. What? I'm just joking. What? I made that up. She laughed. To scare you. I raised my brows. Holes scare me. Why? I don't know. I mean, the whole thing seemed ridiculous. A ridiculous story. So, it was logical that Shed made it up. I was still a bit freaked out. That wasn't funny. I seriously got freaked out. Dina, I'm gonna check if I locked the doors and windows. Just don't let him catch you, she said. What a devious child. And I was gonna let her stay up as long as she wanted. After I'd checked, I put her off to sleep. I decided to watch something in my bedroom, but made sure to leave the lights on in the hallways, and the porch light. I was starting to wish my mom and dad would come home sooner. After a while, when it was about 2 a.m., a thought occurred. I don't know why. I stood up and slowly creeped up to her room. I was about to open the door when something made me look through the keyhole first. I saw it. It was exactly as Shed described it, and it was inside. Some weird, horrific skin crawler freak. I don't even know how to describe it, but I froze and it all felt like a dream. Its limbs were long and its face was smooth, like a plastic mask. The eyes moved around a lot. Dinah was sleeping, unaware of this thing, this creature. It turned its back to me, facing Dina. My mind was desperately looking for something to do. Go inside? Face it? I didn't know what it wanted, or if it would let me be. Call the police? That meant leaving Dina alone in the room with it. I couldn't do that, either. Suddenly, it crawled on the wall. At least I assumed it was the wall, because it had disappeared out of my range. I stopped breathing. I think even my pulse stopped. Then, I saw its eye through the keyhole, staring back at me. That took me off guard, and I jumped back and screamed. I was expecting it to break through the door, but nothing happened. Was it still looking at me through the keyhole? To even be acknowledged by that thing horrified me. My head was spinning. I could not move. I just prayed it would go away, and I didn't understand why everything was so silent. After a while, I built up some courage and opened the door. The room was empty. The thing had left, but so had Dina. Dina, Dina, please Dina. I knew my screaming was in vain. For a few moments that felt like hours, I could not understand what was happening to me. My desperate mind found one demented solution. I picked up my phone, my hands shaking so bad, and called my mom. She answered, but I couldn't hear anything due to the loud music. After a few moments, she went outside, and I could distinguish her voice. I was staring at the empty window, my mouth dry, my eyes stinging from tears. Yeah? What's up, Leah? Are you okay? Did anything happen? You scared me. I took a deep breath. Hey, Mom, don't get mad, but I had a friend over, Jen, and she said she's home alone too, and asked us if we wanted to come have a sleepover with her. So we're at hers now. There was a pause. What? Leah, it's 2 a.m. Dina isn't sleeping. Oh no, she is asleep. We've actually been here for a while, since, I don't know, 11 p.m. or something, but I kind of put off telling you. Don't get mad. We're gonna come back home in the morning. I heard her sigh. I don't like it when you do these things. You should have asked me first. We'll talk in the morning. Right. I know. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Bye. I hung up. Then made my way to the open window and stared out. I saw some broken branches, and my tired mind made out a trail. I sat up on the windowsill, then stepped out on the tree, numb. Down going after her, wherever it took her. I miscalculated, and the branch broke under my foot, causing me to fall against the wall. In a desperate attempt to stabilize myself, I propped my hands on the windowsill and on the tree trunk, but I'd already scraped my elbows and it hurt, badly. I looked around for signs of the thing, then back inside. On my right, the bedroom, dimly lit and cozy, where Dina had been sleeping just a few moments ago. On my left, the dark backyard, surrounded by the forest and the desolated trees reaching their empty branches towards the sky. I could barely make out their outline. Everything seemed to just blend together into this mass of darkness. And it was cold too, really cold. I studied the tree, noticing scratches that led down to the ground. When I got down, gasping and bleeding from the rough branches, I followed this trail. It seemed so obvious. Did it want me to follow it? Somehow I wasn't exactly afraid. No. This other feeling had taken over me. Half curiosity, half guilt from being in charge of my sister and her getting abducted. I would have never forgiven myself if she went missing. Never. I walked across the backyard, following the trail up until the fence. Of course it had climbed over it. I just needed to do that too. I grabbed it with my hands and tried to lift myself up over it. But the fence was too tall, so I started searching for a log, a boulder, something to roll over and step on. It was so dark I could barely see, so I had to use my flashlight, and that meant my battery wasn't going to last long. Scanning the ground for something, I noticed some fur among the dried leaves. It couldn't have been. I stepped over the dead dog and kept looking. I tried not to think too much about its missing head. I tried not to think about how that must have been that things work. I tried not to think about what was about to happen to my sister. I tried, but my mind kept slipping back to all these horrible things, and that's when desperation started building up in my chest. Finally, I rolled some log over and stepped on it, lifting myself up and over the fence. I fell on the other side on my leg and directly on my ankle and heel. I gasped at the pain, but stood up and propped my back on the fence, facing the darkness ahead. The flashlight showed me the dense and silent trees, and a path marked by broken branches and stepped over plants that plunged deep inside the forest. It was an eerie sight, and fear started taking over. I could not lose her. I could not return. Not when I had a trail. Not when I had the advantage of time. She had just disappeared, which meant she could not have been dead yet. By the time the police came, who knows what this thing was going to do to her. I took a deep breath and started making my way through this path, which wasn't exactly made for humans. My feet kept getting stuck in branches and webs and mud, and I kept tripping. The forest had swallowed me whole, minus everywhere I looked. Just darkness. I felt helpless. I had been walking for some time, and I started wondering if I had even followed the right direction. Was it even a trail made by this thing? Could I go back, or was I lost? At some point, the trail had stopped, or the signs didn't seem so obvious anymore. I was expecting to see some sort of hole in the ground, but I saw nothing. It was the end of the path, and the creature and my dinner were gone, maybe forever. I was incredibly cold and my throat was hurting. I heard some rustling behind me, followed by silence. That made me want to move faster, and in my desperate attempt to run, I tripped over a stone and fell, dropping my phone face down. The flashlight shone towards the sky, and I looked up, as a reflex. Its pale face stared back at me, eyes fixated into mine, limbs stretched out and tangled in the branches. It was right above me, and still, I couldn't even make out if it was breaking, or if it even needed to breathe. Have you ever seen something that scared you? If you have, you know the first thing you do is just freeze. You don't scream, you don't run, hide, fight. You just stare, wide eyes, jaw clenched, holding up your breath. Then, after the sheer terror washes over you, your mind starts sending these desperate signals to your body to run, run, run. If you refuse to, it tries to find other options for you. Well, what options did I have? Fight it. How? It was about 9 feet above me, and I really didn't feel like touching it. It was also faster than me, and so fucking creepy. And it hadn't blinked, not even once. I was afraid that even my smallest move would trigger it and it would attack me or something. What did it even want? How do you behave around it? Dina, I whispered, staring into its abnormally wide eyes. Dina. It didn't react in any way. I kept repeating, Dina, Dina. It tilted its head, eyes still fixated on me. I had just noticed that it didn't have a proper mouth, just some hole without lips clenched shut. Its eyes suddenly moved to some spot a few feet away from me. I looked in that direction, but it was dark. I had to shine my flashlight to see what it was, and that meant taking it off of the thing, which meant not seeing it anymore, letting the darkness surround us. My shaking hands were so sweaty, I could barely move my phone. When I did, I saw this hole at the roots of a tree. That's where Dina was. I moved my flashlight back up, and the thing was gone. Damn. I took a deep breath and walked towards the hole. It was pretty large, since the thing was way bigger than us. But my claustrophobia still got triggered. I didn't want to die in some tight tunnel in the ground, but chances were Dina was there. How would I even go in? Head first? Feet first? I decided on the latter. I wanted to still be able to breathe. With every push, I felt as if the earth was swallowing me whole. I tried to slow my breathing, become numb, as to not let fear take over. Panic was building up inside me. As the tunnel seemed to get tighter and tighter around me, I was completely underground and had to push and fight my way down. My hands were tired, and the hole was so tight, I could not take deep breaths. The flashlight didn't really help, just showed me an outline of the walls and my clothes and scratched, bleeding hands. I thought I was about to give up, and I was preparing to try to pull myself up, when I suddenly stopped feeling the tunnel walls around my feet. I moved them around. Nothing. Open space. I pushed myself down and let myself slip through the earth's folds until my whole lower body was hanging. How big could the fall be? I finally escaped from the tunnel and hit the ground hard. The fall had been longer than expected, and it took my breath away. I needed a few moments to adjust to the humid air, and then shone my flashlight around. I was in this sort of cave, not too big, and the hole I'd come through was on the ceiling. There was no way I could go back through that. I couldn't reach it. Then, I saw Dina in a corner. I gasped and felt so relieved. Tears built up in my eyes. I crawled to her and grabbed her, shaking her and trying to wake her up. When she finally opened her eyes, I let out a cry. Dina, thank God. What are you doing? You're so dirty. What is this? It took you, Dina. I came after you. What do you mean? The thing you told me about. It took you. She rubbed her eyes, confused. Leia, it couldn't have taken me. It never hurts me. It just stares. It doesn't hurt people. I put my hand over her mouth. I could hear something being pushed through the tunnel I came in through. My heart was beating so fast that waves of dizziness rushed over me. We both looked up to see its smooth, sickly white head pop through the tunnel. Its eyes fixated on me again, even as its head did a full turn. Then, the rest of the body came through, and it crawled on the ceiling, then dropped on the floor right next to us. Dina let out a scream, despite my protests and attempts to tell her to shut up. The creature flinched, then looked at Dina. It had not blinked, not even once. Then, it did the most bizarre thing. It put 2 fingers from each of its long hands in its mouth, then pulled, stretching it impossibly far. The scream it let out echoed through the cave, hoarse, soulless, a sound I never thought I'd hear. I heard Dina sob next to me, and covered her with my body. Let us go, I whispered, mostly to myself. I stretched out my hand towards it, holding my phone. Its eyes followed the flashlight. Let us go. I shone the light at the hole, then back at the thing, and kept doing that. Let us go. Maybe if I scream again. I don't think it helps, Dina. You'll just piss it off. The creature reached out its ghastly hand and covered my flashlight, casting long shadows across the cave walls. Nobody, and not leaving us in the dark. I shook my head and pulled my phone away from its fingers. Then, its eyes grew even wider, impossibly wide, and it lunged towards us. I pulled back and screamed, feeling its slippery skin on my hands, then lost my phone. When I opened my eyes, it had it. It was turning it over, trying to turn the light off. Please, don't. There was no way we were making it out if we couldn't see. Don't worry, Leah. It doesn't know how to turn it off. Dina was right. However, it didn't necessarily have to turn it off. Stretching its mouth again, it swallowed the phone, and with that, gone was our source of light. I covered my sobs with my hand. The other one wrapped around Dina. I heard it climb on the ceiling again, then leave through the hole we both came in through. I kept telling Dina to calm down, but she wouldn't listen. Finally, I screamed at her to shut up. If you cry, my voice was hoarse and my throat hurt. You're not gonna help me. You shouldn't have told me you were joking. How could you go to sleep, knowing that thing regularly visited you? We're both gonna die here, and it's because of you. Her little chest kept shaking with sobs. I felt sorry and hugged her. Hey, come on, I'm sorry. We're gonna be fine. Stop. Hey, we'll make it out of here. Finally, I got her to quiet down. Look, we need to crawl back up through the tunnel, but it's too high. I'll lift you up. You stand on my shoulders, then pull yourself up through the hole. After that, I need you to crawl outside. Without you? Look, it's day by now. Mom and Dad are worried sick. We need to be quick. You crawl out. Get help. There's a trail you follow back to the house. No, I can't. I don't know how. Yes, you can, and you will. I stood up and propped myself on the wall, then helped Dina get on my shoulders. Can you touch the ceiling? No. Okay, you'll need to stand up. What? No. Come on, do it. Her legs were shaking, but she managed to get up. My shoulders were hurting, but I had no other choice. Do you feel it now? Yeah, I do. Good. I'll start walking, and you can cling to the ceiling and feel around for the hole, okay? Okay. I moved, slowly, carefully. I knew that, if she fell, there was no way I could catch her in the dark. Absolute darkness. No sounds, except my footsteps and her heavy breathing. I didn't know how much I could do it anymore. I was tired, and my shoulders must have been bleeding by now. Then, she let out a gasp. I found it. Just as she said that, I felt a hand around my leg. I could not scream, not yet. I had to get her out. You did? Good. Can you pull yourself up? Yeah. Okay, do it. Crawl to the surface. And when you reach it, yell back at me and tell me you did. Tell me if it's light outside. Okay. When her weight lifted off my shoulders, I finally managed to pull my foot from the cold grasp. What the fuck? Who's there? Please. I heard a whisper. Was it a boy? A man? That's what it sounded like. Who are you? It brought you inside too. It's had me here for months. Damn. I'm a hunter. It knocked me out and got me here. For the past months, it's been feeding me dogs and cats and birds, and I think I went blind because of the darkness. What is it? What does it want? It wants us. It will eat us. It had been watching over me for months, and then it knocked me out. I told you. It tries to fatten you up. How do you know? That's what it did with the other lady. Please, I can't make this up. When it comes back, it will spare you for now, but it'll get to me. That was worse than I'd imagined. I knew it was not going to kill Dina if it found her outside, because it didn't necessarily care about her. But if Dina got lost or couldn't get any help, I was going to remain here for months force-fed. And then, well, can you lift me up? I can try to get help. I blurted out, suddenly terrified of my fate. Didn't you already lift your sister up? She is 7. I don't know if she'll manage. I swear, I'll come back. I swear, just lift me up. It's our only chance. There was a long pause, then he spoke. Or you could lift me up. You're a man. I'm 15. I really couldn't. Another pause, followed by a sigh. Please come back. I have kids. I will. I heard rustling, then felt around until some hands grabbed me and helped me sit on this man's shoulders. I stood up, just like Dina had, and felt the ceiling. I found the hole, then lifted myself up. As I pulled my torso through, the cold hands grabbed my feet and started pulling me back down. I'm sorry, I can't. You'll leave me here. Maybe I can get it to eat you first. Please forgive me. I screamed and kicked around. Luckily for me, the man was weak from the strange diet he'd endured, and I managed to escape. Crawling through the tunnel, I felt desperate and wild, my instincts telling me to go, to get out, my mind flooded with disturbing images of what the thing could do to us. When I felt the cold air on my hand, I started crying with relief. Pulling myself up, it felt like the earth had spared me, spit me back up to the real world. I looked around for Dina. Had she managed to find the way back home? In the daylight, I realized I'd actually managed to walk pretty deep into the forest. Luckily, the trail was still there, and I followed it back to the house. I reached my fence, which I thought I'd never see again, and heard my parents' voices on the other side, along with Dumas. Tears were streaming down my face. I started banging on the fence. "Mom," I wailed. "Mom." I saw my dad's head above me, then his hand reaching out he pulled me up, helping me climb the fence, back inside the backyard. Dina's eyes widened. "You're here. You made it out." "Mom." This thing with long arms and it stretched its mouth too wide. It was watching Dina for so long. And the hole in the ground. "There's another man inside. We need to get him out too." We kept talking over one another, while our parents stared at us, perplexed. I could see that they'd never believe us, yet the words were just pouring out of me, desperate to get the story out. Despite my desperate cries, they would not let me back in the forest. They told me I couldn't just call the police and tell them about a skinwalker. More than anything, they were mad at me. I had been irresponsible and put us in danger, and what was I even talking about? They thought I was more mature than that, and past the age of monsters under the bed. They didn't believe me, despite the days that followed when both me and Dina would wake up screaming. They accused me of losing my phone, even if I'd told them the thing had swallowed it. I didn't care. I knew I was going to go back for the man. I knew I had to save him. He had kids. That, however, needed to wait for a while because I needed a plan. I asked the kid I was babysitting, "What do you think lurks out there, in the forest?" He responded with my mother. "I've been babysitting all summer in order to make some extra cash. At first I just asked around at school if anyone needed a babysitter for their siblings, or if they knew anyone who could be interested. I started babysitting kids whose families I knew, but eventually I needed more money, so I put up an ad on Craigslist. It wasn't long until I got a response. The family lived in the suburbs, but what bothered me was how close to the woods their house was, and the fact that they didn't have any neighbors. I got a bit freaked out at first, considering the fact that they were strangers with a cabin in the woods, but decided to push through the fear for the money. The house was a cozy little cabin, clean, with a garden in the back that had a gate which led to a trail in the woods. They had little lanterns hung out in the garden, and a swing all the way in the back. The living room had a large window that faced directly the forest, and during the day the room was bathed in sunlight. The kitchen was right next to it, with its counter facing another huge window, surrounded by pots and vines, and stupid signs like "Home is where the family is" or "In this house we say sorry." Upstairs they only had the 2 bedrooms. The attic was a tiny space whose window faced the woods too. The kid was pretty quiet. Honestly, I neither liked or disliked him. I tried to form some sort of opinion, but he just didn't stand out in any way. He wasn't mean or stubborn, but he wasn't a sweetheart either. He must have been around 5 or 6, so I would just put him to bed quickly and then snoop around the house. I've always been curious about whoever hired me, and I know it's not exactly recommended, but I would just go through people's stuff whenever I felt bored. It must have been around midnight that night when I slowly pulled out one of the drawers in the main bedroom. This one had all types of trinkets, coins, notebooks, pins, buttons. This family liked to collect useless stuff and let it hang around the house, and I liked to explore it. As I was studying this little ceramic statue of a horse, I moved it around, noticing the moonlight hit its porcelain from different angles. I debated whether to just take it or not. Would they even notice? My chest tightened, and my mouth opened. The horse was no longer bathed in moonlight, because this huge shadow had covered it, and was dancing on its porcelain. Looking around a bit, I noticed the shadow took up half the room. I could not make out the silhouette, or what could have made it. It just seemed so unexpected. That fear crept up to me and froze me. Someone was at the window. I know it could have been a bird. That's the rational explanation. And I could have solved all this doubt by just looking up. But I didn't. Because, what if it wasn't a bird? I stood still for so long, not knowing what to do, until it passed. and the horse was lit up again by the moonlight. I breathed a sigh of relief and put the horse in my pocket. I didn't know at the time, but that would have been my first contact with it. Something made me stop snooping around and just get downstairs. I turned on the TV and curled up on the couch. At one point during the night, I heard creaking upstairs. I know it shouldn't have freaked me out so bad, but I still got scared, so I went to check it out. The house was dark and quiet, and the 2 bedrooms facing each other were empty. Where did the kid go? Jason? My voice pierced the silence, and I felt like an intruder, destroying the quiet of the night. Jason, where did you go? I kept having the feeling of being watched, so I turned around, fixated on the attic door, which was now opened. My instincts kept telling me to just leave, but my head, now spinning, refused. What if we had an intruder? What if he'd taken Jason? If I had just looked up at the window when the shadow passed, now I'd know what I was dealing with. If I'd just had the courage to face it. My voice sounded a lot weaker than the first time, but I still had to try. Jason. Yeah? The response was almost immediate, and coming from the attic. Odd, what was he doing there? I put my foot on the first step of the stairs. What are you doing there? It's really late. Your parents are going to be home soon. Step after step, I tried to readjust my eyes to the darkness. The attic was really dark compared to the rest of the house, and I could make out a ray of light that traced out this tiny silhouette. Jason, are you there? What are you doing? You're freaking me out. I finally reached him and put my hands on his tiny shoulders, but he didn't respond. He was just staring out the tiny window into the woods. What's going on? I asked. What are you looking at? I sat next to him and stared out the window at the woods. There was a portion of grass beginning from the house, pierced by trees. The farther you went, the denser the trees were, until you'd discover you were completely surrounded by the woods, unable to see the sky from how tight the branches closed around you. The forest commenced from the garden and swallowed the horizon like a dark mass, blending with the sky. The window framed this darkness, this suffocating emptiness, and made me feel as if we'd reached the end of the world, and had we dared to venture into the forest, we'd just fall over the face of the earth. And there stood Jason, just staring. What are you seeing? He just wouldn't answer. So I decided to find out by myself. Studying the scenery, nothing particular stood out. Of course, I just needed to pay more attention. Yeah, the more you looked, the more movement you saw. Birds, animals, even the wind thrilled the branches and the leaves, the grass swaying gently. And then the shadows were the next thing you noticed, these forever moving stains on the ground. I could have stared out there for years. Maybe that's why Jason wasn't moving. There's just something about the night that keeps you up. What do you think lurks out there? I asked him, playfully. Where? In the woods. Yeah, my mom. I blinked a few times. That was unsettling. I mean, kids say weird stuff, but why would he respond to that? Was that a your mom joke? Was he trying to be funny? What do you mean? What does lurk mean? Oh. Open. Lurk means, well, when you wait or move slowly in the darkness, because you don't want to be seen. So, like hiding? Yeah, but you're lurking when you also want to do something bad, just how animals lurk before they attack, or monsters. I added, trying to scare him. So, what do you think lurks out there, in the forest? My mother. He responded once again. My body tensed up. That's not funny. I don't want to be funny. Why would you say that? Your mom. That's an old joke, and it stopped being funny a while ago. I'm not joking. Okay, let's go to sleep. Your mother can't be lurking out there. I saw her, and she's pretty nice. I don't know what she told you, but she doesn't eat people. She's out with your dad now, and they're gonna come home in a few hours. If they find out you aren't sleeping, I'll get a lot of shit for it. Shit. Don't tell your parents. I said that. Come on, let's get down. I'm telling the truth. What? Is she a vampire? You know, something was standing at the window earlier. I didn't really care that much about what I was saying because in my head everything had a logical explanation. Jason, however, widened his gaze. Yeah, that could have been her. Stop. I'm serious. And what does she want from us? Does she want to eat me? We were now in his bedroom, and I had tucked him into bed. I had my back to the window, facing the hallway, which had now become way creepier than expected. She doesn't want to eat you. That's so great. I taste horrible. Good night. I tried to stand up and leave, but he grabbed me. Wait, don't go. Look at me. What, now? I want to tell you about this dream I had. This dream that woke me up, but you have to pay attention. Okay, so, in my dream, I was in the garden, and I was thirsty, and you were there too, and you tried to leave, but there were a lot of bushes around, and you got lost, and I found this puppet. I hate it when people tell me about their dreams, but I sat there listening, facing Jason with my back to the window. Not because his story was interesting. Not because I liked being there. Because while he held me there, his eyes kept darting to the window, and I'd seen the shadow cover his face. Because he'd insisted I looked at him, but in reality he didn't want me to turn around. So I listened until he abruptly finished his story when moonlight reached his face again. Thank you for the story. It was really interesting. You're welcome. Good night. Night. I spent the next hour in the other bedroom, fidgeting with a little porcelain horse. This kid was a lot braver than I thought. In the silence, I kept trying to make out distinct, unfamiliar sounds but didn't succeed. The house had fallen asleep, and the night had become uneventful. His parents arrived soon after that. I put the horse in my pocket and went downstairs to greet them. Was he good, Keith? Yeah, the best. Don't worry. I studied both of them, head to toe, their clothes, mannerisms, facial expressions, but mostly the mom. Were you good? Asked the dad, jokingly. I hope so, I responded. They wanted to drive me home, but I insisted on taking my bike. I closed the door behind me, but instead of leaving, I headed to the backyard. I just wanted to see something. Climbing on the fence, I made it on the roof of the porch, right next to the bedroom window, hoping to see some signs of something, anything. The window was covered in scratches, but nothing gave out what had been there. I stood there for a while. I don't know why. The parents had gone to sleep, and Jason was probably asleep in his room too. I studied the garden from that angle. Then the woods, as quiet as a mouse. Then the room where the parents were sleeping. After that, I don't remember how I got home. I don't even think I took my bike. Just ran frantically until my legs bled. I didn't even scream. I didn't look around or stop. Just ran until I reached my house and banged on the door. My mother answered, annoyed, and I ran past her, right to my bedroom, covered myself in my blanket, and started typing this. Because while I was watching the parents sleep, something had caught my eye. In the hallway, what I had though to be a coat hanger moved all of a sudden. It had been standing there so still, I hadn't even bothered to notice it, until disappeared out of my range, then appeared again. This bony, twisted silhouette dragged itself into the bedroom and stood right next to the mother who was sleeping. It looked uncanny, like a human who'd starved to death, with wide eyes and arms so long, they trailed behind it when it walked. It just stood there watching the parents, then lifted a bony finger and started counting. I stood there frozen, watching this horrifying show, forever scarred in my head. It kept counting, and counting, and counting. I was so scared to move that I would have watched it forever. It wasn't until something else happened that made me break into this exhausting run. It saw me. Please whistle back. It happened yesterday, Thursday evening, monotone, rain and cars passing by, sidewalk. I was tired, dizzy, blurry, hard day at work. I get off the bus and pull my hood over my head. Pouring. I look up. For a second, I don't know why. Don't ask, just an instinct. I see this face. It happens so sudden, and it disappears in a fraction of a second, before I could even process it. I'm just tired. I say to myself, whatever. I walk from the bus station to my building. I don't know what's happening, but all these cars have their brakes worn out or something, because every time they slow down, I hear this high-pitched noise. I walk, head down, minding the rain, feet soaking wet. Should have worn the boots. It's been 15 minutes since I left the bus station, and as I'm heading towards my apartment complex, the traffic noise and the chatter gets tuned out. My block is surrounded by a park, and I pass it on my way home. The birds are unusually talkative today. If it wasn't for the rain, I think I'd hear this high-pitched noise even clearer. Finally, I get home. The board at the entrance of building A7 has new announcements. Whoever's throwing their trash right outside, spend the additional 10 minutes and walk to the fucking bins. One Joel, it's Cherry Sposa. Apartment 203B. I know you have a dog, and it's against the rules. Then, stapled in a corner of the board, please whistle back. What? Weird prank to try out? Whatever. As I open the front door, I get flashed by this face again. I stop in the doorway. Now, once is explainable, but twice? I'm way too tired, so I just stare in the distance for a while, before I get in and turn towards the dark hallway outside. Suddenly, a long, teasing whistle echoes back at me. Who's that? What are you doing out there? Silence. I shine my phone flashlight into the darkness. Nothing. Of course, the light doesn't reach the end of the hallway. Another whistle, this time closer. Something moves in the shadows, fear taking over me. I shut the door behind me, lock it, then check 10,000 times. The whistling continues from right behind the door. Long, playful. Stop it. It's not funny, and I'm tired. I check the time. It's 9 p.m. already. I swear I got off work at 6. The whistling continues, this time in the form of a tune that sounds really familiar. I ignore it. Right, so last night I didn't sleep. The whistling echoed from the hallway, the bathroom window, even from random rooms in my house. I took a shower and got out to find another note saying, please whistle back. It's torture, really. This morning I thought I was going to kill someone or myself. The whistling was almost continuous, teasing, playful, melodious but unbearable. I felt I had no choice. Bloodshot eyes, twitching hands. I stepped in the middle of the hallway and whistled back. Silence followed. Then, another short whistle. I did the same. Suddenly, my front door, which, mind you, had been locked, slammed wide open, and the light in the hallway switched off. Then, before I could react, it slammed back shut. I went to check, and it had remained unlocked. I tried to lock it, but every time I checked, it would still be unlocked. Anyone can get in now, or anything, but I fear it already did. The whole day has been off. I keep getting this headache and I can stare in the mirror for more than 10 seconds without getting dizzy. I keep finding random objects placed oddly all around my house. I think I'm catching glimpses of it, in the corner of my eye, the same face that looks like a tribal mask. I fear I accidentally let something sinister into my house. As I'm typing this, I can see something reflected in my monitor. It lets out a playful whistle, but this time, I don't respond. You know what's worse than a haunted mansion? A haunted apartment. At least, when you have more rooms, you can just move into another to get away. In my one-bedroom apartment, if you're uncomfortable, you stay there. I've started spending the nights in my bathroom. I can't sleep over too often at my friend's house, and hotels are out of the question. It doesn't even make any effort to hide from me. I see it in every reflection, a drop of white mixed with red and green, the same tribal mask from my previous update. I can ignore it, look the other way, or just close my eyes, but the whistling is what drives me insane. Playful, eerie melodies fill my apartment. The whistles travel back and forth through my hallway. One from the end of it, a question, and another from right behind me, an answer. Could there be more entities? It's 9 p.m. and October. Naturally, it's dark outside. I've got all the lights on, and am keeping them that way. Music is in the background, some blues to ease the tension. I can talk to anyone about this. I'll think I'm insane. I tried multiple times to lock the front door, but to no avail. I ended up blocking it with a chair, but I don't think it'll really help. Sitting on my couch, on FaceTime with my sister. Apple cider in my hand. The smell of lavender lingering around from a candle I'd forgotten to put out the night before. My bare feet sinking into the wool carpet. Hey, do you think you can turn down the music a little? I can't hear you, she says, with a sigh. I press pause on my computer. I'm sorry, it's just, I don't like the silence. Look, I told you might not have been ready to live alone. It can get really lonely sometimes. You should come visit, or I'll come. She. No, we'll come to you. She frowns. All right. I guess you're not so eager to have me over. Why not? I won't care if your home's a mess. It's not that. I just don't really feel safe in this neighborhood. I don't want you here. She frowns. Liam, if you don't feel okay, move out. I don't want to see you on the news. I smile. Hey, since when have you become so eccentric? She laughs. What? Your home decorations are interesting. What do you mean? She gestures behind me. The mask on your wall. I turn around. A red and green tribal mask is hanging from my wall, its eyes wide and bloodshot, with wool locks of hair, framing a grotesque, red-stained smile. The eyes are so vividly painted, I suddenly feel the intimacy of eye contact, and it becomes burning and unbearable, so I turn away. Yeah, I don't know what came over me. I mutter. Look, I need to go to sleep. It's 9 p.m. Yeah, I'm just not feeling very well. My hands are trembling as I hang up. I take a sharp breath as I turn around, and the mask is still there. Only, this time, where the eyes should have been, it's just two cutouts. I can see the white wall through them. That can only mean one thing. It took the mask off, and I'm not sure I want to see its real face. Dozens of homes are being broken into during the holidays. Lock your doors and, if you hear or see something suspicious, alert the police. Dozens of homes are being broken into during the holidays. Lock your doors and if you hear or see something suspicious, alert the police. Dozens of homes are being broken into during the holidays. Lock your doors and if you hear or see something suspicious, alert the police. Dozens of homes are being broken into during the holidays. Lock your doors and if you hear or see something suspicious, alert the police. My phone keeps buzzing with these alerts. I didn't exactly lie when I said my neighborhood wasn't entirely safe, but my door doesn't lock now, so I can't really do anything about it. I have some Amy Winehouse playing in the background, set on a sleep timer, and the pills are starting to kick in. In a few minutes, I'll drift off to sleep. A faint car alarm pierces the distance, or is it someone whistling? I wouldn't know. The apartment sinks in the darkness, and the only one that keeps the shadows off me is a moon night light. In 1 minute, I'm sleeping. In the next, I'm wide awake and standing up because someone has just twisted my doorknob. With a click, my front door opens creaking. Could it be the thing? No, for 2 reasons. 1, the footsteps sound human. 2, it's already in the house. My eyes scan the hallway. Whoever came in is not using a flashlight. There's just different levels of darkness. The black rectangle in the far left is my opened front door, and the silhouette going towards the kitchen is, well, some guy. I knew there were burglars around, but why pick the only house that has no locks? My luck couldn't have been worse. As the intruder moves away, I'm only thinking how to get the fuck out. I don't even know what to take with me. I wouldn't have time anyway. He might have a gun. My eyes are desperately darting from the open door to the kitchen. Before I can make any decisions, a long, playful whistle is heard from the other end of the hallway. Both me and the intruder freeze. The whistle echoes again back to us, a bit off-key. Without thinking, I whistle back. Suddenly, a cold, dry hand covers my mouth, pressing so hard my neck tenses up. My eyes widen in fear, but I can't move. I sink into the floor, and I don't remember anything after that. When I wake up, the morning light is creeping through the blinds. In my hallway, on the floor, and my front door is wide open. For fuck's sake, I get up and shut it, then search around the house. The burglar had left, and taken nothing. I guess the whistling had creeped him out too. Over the next days, I try to live normally. I won't lie to you. Sometimes it feels like I'm walking through water. My brain is foggy, and the whistling now covers any song I play. I find myself yelling like a lunatic, and sometimes whistling back. The tribal mask still hangs in my living room, and I'm afraid to see that thing without it. Oh, and my apartment has this weird fucking smell. I just can't get rid of it, no matter what I do. Anyway, I've kind of isolated myself from everyone. I just feel like I have to hide something from them. A disgusting secret that stains my skin. Even the outside world seems to make my experience weirder than our missing persons flyers at the entrance of the building, and I can't help but envy the victim, because at least they don't have to live where I live. Until now, the only types of notes I got were, "Please whistle back." The same note, over and over again, found in different parts of my home. if I can call it a home, after all that's happened. 2 minutes ago, I got another note. This time it read, "You owe blood." My tired mind couldn't process it at first. Then, the events of that night with the intruder, the smell in my house, and the missing flyer suddenly clicked in together. I'm startled, and my eyes remain fixed on the mask on my wall. A whistle echoes behind me. A few seconds pass. Then, I see something black in the corner of my eye. A hand reaches over my shoulder and drops another note. "Look in your closet. I already know what's in there." That's it for tonight's stories, but the nightmares never end. If you enjoyed these chilling tales, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss a new upload. Got a scary experience of your own? Share it in the comments. I just might feature it in a future video. Until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and remember, some things are scarier than they seem in the dark.